Welcome back to another Montreal Canadiens play-by-play. No, it's not play-by-play. Tonight we go to the Ab podcast show with the hockey coach Francis, directly for the beautiful country of Thailand on amazing, great, already Wednesday night, April 2nd, 2025. If you remember the Montreal Expos, who was born April 2nd? Of course, Rusty Staub. I don't know why. Since I was young age, I remember that. I don't know. I cannot tell you the reason behind that, but I always remember Rusty Staub's birthday was April 2nd. But I don't know remember the birthday of Ellis Valentine. Honey, welcome in the show. How do you feel? How do you think? What happening for the Montreal last night? Do you call this the miracle on the ice? Do you think the goals of the Forum was back in the Bell Center last night with the performance of Nick Suzuki at the end of the game and, of course, the overtime goal? And for the Montreal, his fifth game-winning goal. So that's what we got tonight, guys. We're going to talk about the elite player for the Montreal Canadiens. This is the subject of the night. I can bring you there if you don't give me a couple of seconds. Right there, this is the biggest subject of the night. The elite player for the Montreal Canadiens, how they are, Lane Hutson and Nick Suzuki. Do you feel this could happen in the next couple of weeks, years for Lane Hutson? A wild game between the Minnesota Wild and the New York Rangers. Before in our top show up, the score was 2-1 for the Minnesota. When he show up, he talk with me off show or off record. It was 3-2 to Rangers. Now I open the show, it's 4-3 for Minnesota. So I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know. Gum Worsley is back between the pipe for the New York Rangers tonight. But this is a really crazy game. The Panthers lead the Toronto Maple Leafs 1-0. This is a very important game for both teams. And are you concerned? The Washington Capitals, after they gave 8 goals to the Buffalo Sabres, now they gave 4 goals to the Carolina Hurricane. The Cane looking good, by the way. So we're going to definitely talking about different things going around the NHL, the Montreal Canadiens, the miracle on the ice, the elite players. What's going on with Mr. It's wild game. It's a where it's going on Madison Square. Madison Square Garden. We just disallowed the goal of Minnesota is 3-3. So I don't know how Xhekaj play with the number at the website of the NHL right now. We have to figure out this. Maybe RJ will control the data of the website right now in NHL. But what a great game for the Montreal Canadiens. And to talk about this game tonight, he's back in the house, sit at Toronto, and the caveman with a great weather is going on in Toronto. I can wait to see him, and I like to be with him because not only he bring only the hockey, but he brings some great analogy about the Montreal Canadiens every time you show up at the house. So we welcome him. Of course, he's ready to talk about what the Montreal Canadiens, and we welcome Mr. Inartap is in the house tonight.
Hello, Coach. Hello, Hockey Nation. What a game yesterday, Coach. What a game.
What a game. If you talk about the last 25 game, and maybe for the people in the
Yes.
chat too, we talk about since 2000. How do you consider that game? Where do you see that game? The top best 3 game at the Bell Center? How do you see that? I can remember with something like that. In my opinion, the game where the Montreal was losing 5-0, I believe it was the New
The
York
Rangers.
Rangers, and they come
Yes, it
back
was.
and to score 6 goals to win the game 6-5, if I can recall it properly. Of course, you can
Yeah.
talk about the overtime goal of Lekonen during the playoff. We had nobody in the building, Mr. Nartap, so we cannot consider this the same thing. And I don't know if you have
No,
any
that.
other game where you talk about the series, the Washington Capitals, the Pittsburgh Penguins, 2010, everything like that. But maybe the people in the chat could tell us, that game. Remember in 2017? I don't know, but how do you consider this this game last night, like I call the miracle on the ice at the Bell Center?
I mean, Coach, yesterday, to be totally honest, I thought I thought that I mean the outcome was great for Montreal, and there was definitely a lot of action towards the tail end of the period. But I mean, I thought Florida played a really good road game in my eyes. I thought that they really contained the neutral zone. They didn't allow Montreal very many opportunities. It was frustrating, right? Once they took that lead to go ahead 2-1, it was difficult for Montreal to really create anything. But you see at the end, having somebody like Hutson, and he's really developing into a special kind of player for Montreal. Um, he's the kind of guy that he's very unpredictable. So it's hard to defend against the player that has that style in him. And yesterday he spun some of his magic along with, of course, the captain Suzuki, and we had a great finish. But in terms of was it a memorable game from a perspective of playing it well? Probably not, right? It doesn't rank up there with, let's say, the game you were alluding to, which was the Rangers when we were losing by 5 goals and came back and then won it in overtime. So yeah, that's sort of how I saw the game last night.
Good point about that, Mr. Natap. And for us to do that, it's happening, Mr. Natap. We have to get there. Oh,
Blanc,
rouge,
rouge.
Canadien, Canadien.
C'est dans notre sang, dans nos cœurs, notre tradition, notre honneur. Le Canadien, c'est tout, c'est une partie de nous.
Bleu,
Bleu,
blanc,
blanc,
rouge.
rouge.
Le Canadien, le Canadien. That's the reason, Mr. Natap. We cannot be more smiling at that because the Montreal Canadiens have a really huge, big W. And it looked like the Hollywood story last night.
It
Like
was.
the Bruce Willis, at the end of the Die Hard in the building. He find a way to survive. But that's happening yesterday. Nick Die Hard, Suzuki got scored 2 goals. We'll talk about the game happening in the next couple of minutes. First of all, we want to welcome everybody. Everybody in the chat are excited. We missed a square behind us. We don't know Devin, who was in the show. We maybe get Devin at some point tonight, or maybe Marco talk a little bit with us. So we said we're not going to change the structure or the template, but we're going to remove the square. And from there, we're going to go with that. We have a lot of people in the chat. GF is now, Jeremy, Guy, RJ Calabro, Billy is in the house. A2 Send the Man, Jeremy N, and our brand, welcome back. We have George Doucette also. Robert Levine, welcome back. The Butch in Massachusetts is in the house. Pizza, mon ami. PLW, go with Mookie Betts. Here we go. Welcome back at PLW. Tony DeMarca is in the house. We try to get Killer also. Guy George, like I mentioned to you. Claude Richard is in the house. And we have Tony DeMarca at the top of that. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget, please, to click on the likes. Don't forget to subscribe to the Hockey Nation show. And Martin Besnet from Waterloo is in the house tonight. Thanks to be with us about this. Hey, coach, must trade at the draft this summer with Florida Panthers for Anton Lundell with 3 years old. What do you think about that? I would say to you, the cost will be huge to get Anton Lundell. And I don't know, Martin, I don't think the Florida will trade Anton Lundell. They have to sign Sam Bennett. I think I would said the future of Lundell will be the second center for the Florida Panthers. Just so smart. He's a little bit a Barkov baby 2.0, in my opinion. At the beginning of when he joined the Florida Panthers, Lundell stayed with Barkov at home for at least 2 years, but we'll see. I think there will be a very high cost to get Martin under Lundell, but I really like Lundell, honestly. Very great special players for that. So I'm going to start with everything here. I know the Montreal, everybody want to talk about Montreal, but I want to talk a little bit quicker about what's going on with fun news. And I want to specific things around the NHL. And I can talk with many subjects, but one player is concern for me. He really hit the wall. it's called the sophomore, was the jinx, sophomore,
Sophomore jinx. Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Connor
Yeah.
Bedard. I understand you have approximately 60 points, everything like that, but it's not the same Connor Bedard of last season. And I don't say it's a concern because he's only his second year. He's only 19 years old, and he's going to be 20 years old very soon. But how do you feel about Connor Bedard season this season?
Well, it's definitely not at the level that I think that Chicago would have expected. But coach, we have to be fair. I mean, he's not surrounded by very much there in Chicago, and obviously that's going to, like, we complain here that we don't have a second line, which is pretty much not far from fact. And the fact that we're not producing enough offense because of that. Imagine if you don't have very much to surround your so-called franchise player with, right? So yes, it's a low amount in terms of points, and you can see the frustration even in his just as in his body language from night to night. You see sometimes there's a lot of liberties that have been taken towards him because of that, and I think they have to be very careful how they pedal forward with this situation in Chicago, right? The last thing you want to do is to destroy the confidence of a young prospect that is number one overall, and also has, in my eyes, the tag of being a franchise player for them. So we'll see how it goes. I think who scored? Minnesota Wild.
We have a breaking news. It's not about the Montreal Canadiens, Jacob Fuller, but it's about Alexei Ovechkin score another goal. And now he's at 3 goal of the Sidney Crosby, of the Wayne Gretzky on the power play goal. Again, a slap shot beat Anderson on that one. So I know it's not, but I think as this is a really important chase race, and the history of the NHL. So Ovechkin score a goal. Is what 39 goal, I believe, or something like that. So,
Yeah, 3 goals away now. Yeah.
did you see the cheese of Mr. Ovechkin was on top?
Yes, I did.
Oh, oh, oh. She have a
Oh my gosh.
she looked great, but the ring she has is a little bit more expensive, I thought. But anyway, that's another story for another time. So I don't want to share it with you. I apologize for that one.
Yeah. So he's what, 4 goals away now? I thought it was
Three.
3 to tie, 4 to win.
Yep.
3, yeah.
The main Wild, the Rangers scored a goal 4-3 over the Minnesota Wild
Not good. Not good news.
at the end of the second period.
Oh,
About that, A2 said better was generational talent. Is a good player. Will score a bunch of goals, but he's not the guy.
I think he is a generational player. It's a bit unfair because he's not really, like I said earlier, he's not really surrounded by some talent on either side of him. The team is not very good. I don't think that their rebuild has gone, as well as it could have been by this stage. It's going to take a lot longer than they anticipated. And I also question, I don't know what you think, coach, but they're playing him at center. Is he better suited on the wing?
Um, I don't think so. I can understand he's 5'10", everything like that. But if you watch him play hockey, then he is like it's a little bit like put Gretzky on the center like a winger if he's only 6 foot the time he was there. I don't think so. I think but I'm okay with that. I think I would disagree with you about the general player. I will more go with A2. I think he could be a Jack Hughes, in my opinion. But he would not be like a McDavid. I don't think so. It would be a Kucherov. Um, at that level. Is it make sense to you? Like he would be the guy can get 100 point. I don't think so. He's McKinnon, in my opinion. He's a second level on for what I see right now. And I think at some point, um, he will need a player like a sniper, like a guy can score 50 goals beside him if he want to reach those kind of number. I don't think so. He's the guy who
Absolutely.
should be like McKinnon. I don't see that yet. Now everything could change. He proved it in the junior. He did it with Team Canada. He was the dominant players. But right now, he have a difficult time adjustment for him this year. It's only his second year. We don't want to disrespect Bella. But I just said for me, this is what I see right now from him. But he has the potential. But I think, like everybody else, right? He need like McKinnon. Renton left.
Time.
He pick up. It's no matter. McKinnon, still McKinnon. Better, in my opinion, he will need someone around him to get that kind of number of the point. Every time that I think what all the respect like Brennan Point, but without Kucherov, I'm not sure Point it would be the same players. But Kucherov without Point or without Senko is still to be what he is. So for me, better we need some kind of duo. Does it make sense? Like a duo
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
get that kind
yeah.
of players and but like I still believe A2 is right about that. But we'll see what will be the future of better. Then I'm maybe not small for but maybe small. Like GF feel that way for that one. 0-0 Laval tonight again. The Manitoba Moose, a back-to-back game for them. Only a concern, a minor injury. Marcus Storm got hurt yesterday by his own player again. The Montreal Canadiens is a day today. Not much to other than the Toronto Maple Leafs tied the game, guys. John Tavares, 36 goals in our tap.
What
What
a
a
year!
great year for
What a
the
year!
ex-captain about that. Marco Rabi, you're welcome to join us. Welcome in the chat. If you want to join us for a couple of minutes talking about the Montreal Canadiens yesterday, you're welcome. It's up to you. We don't push you, but if you want to talk, join us. Now, I want to talk about two teams right here, and then we're going to talk about Montreal Canadiens. The St. Louis Blues win the 10W. We talk about the miracle on the ice yesterday at the Bell Center,
Mhm.
but the end of the Detroit Red Wings yesterday was the completely reverse or contrary at the Montreal Canadiens. The Detroit need the win, but the Blues said no, 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 no. We're going to consist our streak of the win with the Kiru tie the game to give the tie 1-1, and then Cam Fowler, what a great goal, Cam Fowler. He was looked like
Yeah.
Bobby Orr on that goal. Again, the Detroit Red Wings, and they win
Nice
and they beat
pass.
the Detroit by the score 2-1 on overtime. Great performance of Ken Talbot, by the way, between the pipe. Detroit have almost like 39 shots versus 23 for the Detroit Red Wings. Ken Talbot was solid between the pipe. But one thing about the Blues, they passed the Wild right now. With the last tonight, the
Yeah.
Wild will be behind the Blues. Are you like, if you have Vegas, the Winnipeg Jet, right now, they look like they're going to be finished 1-2. It looked like the Blues would be at that playoff spot. How do you feel
Yeah.
about them when you see the Blues right there? This is maybe the best team, and they are right now the best team in NHL. Like the Washington dominate the NHL for the at most like 90% of the season. The Blues right now dominate the Four Nation, the NHL. Are you concerned for the Vegas and the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, I mean, how can you not be, Coach? I mean, the key thing is always to try to head into the playoffs on a high, right? Like the last 10 games are critical just to get into that comfort zone, that sense of playing as a team and full of confidence going into the playoffs, right? And so if you go in as a wild card team, I mean, it's all house money for them, and the way they're playing, I'd be worried if I was either Vegas or Winnipeg or um, any team that goes up against them because they can play. St. Louis can play any type of any style of game against you, and that's the part that is hard to kind of crack, right? Like I think they have very good goaltending, like especially since the Four Nations. I think Bennington has really been playing extremely well. Their defense, we talked about what an addition Fowler has been to that team. Talk about stabilizing the defense. He came in and did that, and of course, They're going to be picking up Pareco coming off the injury reserve very soon. So that'll be a big, big help, especially going into the playoffs. And the forwards, I mean, the forwards are all clicking at a great pace right now. You got guys like Kyrou and Thomas, especially, has been amazing. Neighbors has been scoring. It's just a great story, and it'll be interesting to see them and follow them through the playoffs. I think they'll be very difficult to beat. Hello, Marco.
Hey, gentlemen.
Welcome back.
Sorry,
Thanks to be with
I
us,
guess
Marco.
I missed it that you were doing the show tonight, so I can jump on for about 45 minutes.
Sure.
No
That's
problem. You
great.
can just let us know about
Do you
that. We
agree?
talk about the Blues, but I will ask you,
Do you
Marco,
agree,
if you don't
Marco?
mind, talking about the Canes. 11 and 13, and tonight they all beat the Capitals and not close game allowed. So I want you to talk about the Canes, how you feel about their straight right now, and how they play. And then at the same time, the Washington Capitals gave 12 goals in the last 5 period.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are
Yeah, I
not
noticed
like
the same thing.
and danger, but this may be the worst time time of the year where they play very bad or the very for the Capitals.
Yeah, what I find interesting about the Hurricanes, and we see this a lot in a lot of the seasons, guys, is often the teams that make the big blockbuster moves, like they don't tend to do super well, and the teams that do the kind of the underrated moves tend to gel better. And so, say what you want about the Rantanen deal, like it was terrible asset management, and I think we can all agree on that. But the Stankoven deal it's like Stankoven was kind of like made in a lab to work to play for the Carolina Hurricanes. Like he's perfect for that team, right? So I
Yeah.
think he fits in really perfectly there. Like listen, say what you want. Like it's a really analytics driven team and management group, and sometimes that can't work out, but it's moneyballing it, right? Like they added all kinds of different players that they think could come in and kind of fill that role. And on paper, they didn't look as strong as last year, but it's Brindamore. It's a Brindamore style. The only thing that's yet to be proven for the Carolina Hurricanes is can they bring it in the playoffs? And that's a lesson that Montreal can learn, right? Because it's a similar style that Montreal wants to play. It's very up tempo, very aggressive in all three zones all the time. It's very, very draining on the players, right? So if you play like that for 82 games, you're going to get to the playoffs. It's not an overly huge team either. So it's not surprising to me that they're a very good regular season team. So just a matter of, it's always been goaltending, and do they have the energy to maintain it going into the playoffs, right? So we'll see kind of how it plays out for the Hurricanes. Don't forget the Metro is a little bit of a weaker division than years past as well too. So that's one thing to take into consideration. What was the second part? It was the Canes, and what was the other part? It was the Blues.
We were talking about the Blues and their
Question,
story.
Marco, in our tap, to switch in a little bit. At the end of the season, because the Canes looking good, right? I don't think Kane can join the Washington finish again. I believe this will be
No.
they're going to have the advantage ice at the end,
Oh, yeah.
and they play against the Devils. So my question to both of you is: this is a good, important news for the Montreal Canadiens, because at the end of the season, I believe they play Chicago and Washington the last game. Carolina, possible Carolina will maybe sit a couple of players at the end of the season. So you know what? Maybe we have nothing to prove anymore here. We just to be sure nobody get injured. I know said it would be set 6, 7 players, but maybe we will see a player like Burns. Bill Burns is still on the race of the
Iron Man.
Man. But
He's not going to skip the game.
yeah, but maybe some player like that, right? It could be set for the preparation. So maybe an advantage for the Montreal Canadiens at some point.
Yeah. And I guess like an interesting
Oh.
question too, right, is like you were mentioning about Washington, right? So there's a lot of it's kind of a hot topic. I've heard a whole bunch of different podcasts talk about it in the last couple of days because they haven't been playing as well. A lot of people, even though they're in line to win the President's Trophy and they've had an amazing season, they've already clinched their playoff berth and everything else. There's a lot of people that still question that team, because it is kind of a Frankenstein team, that was put together over the summer. They've gelled super well. Everything, It's what they remind me of a little bit, guys, is they remind me a little bit of the Vancouver Canucks last year. You know how like everything that could have potentially went right for the Canucks went right last year. Their shooting percentage was really high. They didn't have tons of injuries, and everything was just going super well. So, not to say that I don't believe in Washington. I think like they're a big team, they're a strong team, they have decent depth.
Yeah.
But I won't call them a paper tiger. But like
No.
is it a real President's Trophy winning kind of team? I wouldn't like as a Montreal fan. I'm not terrified to meet the Washington Capitals in the first round, especially with the goaltending that we've seen last couple games.
Florida Panthers 3 years ago, I believe, or 4 years ago, they were win, and then they got out by the Washington Capitals, if I can recall it. Same scenario. It was a year where it was not the year
Yeah.
of the strict club of Jonathan Huberdeau.
Was it against Washington? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought they lost
I
against
think the year
Tampa.
after
yeah.
that, I believe. But anyway, I think this
Mhm.
is the same feeling for the Washington Capitals at some point. So
The
we'll
key
see.
the key is gonna have to be for them. They got to keep the puck out of their own net, right? Like even though they have two decent goalies, their defense really hasn't been up to par. Their offense has been good, but we're seeing it in the last week or so. They're having a hard time keeping the puck out of their own net.
If
They
you look at the
say
decor, it's adding Chikrin was a great move, right? But
Yeah.
your top here, so you're looking at Carlson, Chikrin, then you're like Farvari,
17.
Sandin, and then they have Van Riemsdyk in their top four, I think, right now. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you got Karivari or Teravari or whatever. I always screw up his name. And then I can't remember who they traded Benson, right? Was it?
Fairvarby,
Oh, sorry.
I think it's McKilligrath or
McElrath.
something
McElrath.
like McElrath. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So, they have some like the top guys like Carlson and Chikrin are going to eat a lot of minutes. But yeah, like I think Carberry has them playing he's a good coach, right? Like so we'll see how it goes. But like again, if Montreal makes it in, I don't think it's a terrible matchup. What's Montreal's record against Washington this year?
That's a
I
good
don't have it in
question.
front of me.
Yeah.
Try to remember in my head. I think it's 1-1, but I could be wrong.
I think it's 1-1 too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Montreal Canadiens, Oliver Kapanen and Jacob Fuller. We're going to talk about the situation. Oliver Kapanen, it was announced to join the Montreal Canadiens. Kapanen this season at 35 points and 36 games. Playing average approximately 19-20 minutes with the team Temra. Play on power play, play on the PK, play center number one. At 35 points, you have an average of 0.922 points per game. He's a number 4 in the league of Temra. When the league SHL, it's not easy to get 1 point per game. This is a league really defensively play very well. It's not, so Kapanen have a really great year. Montreal going to join the Montreal tomorrow, but today he joined the Montreal Canadiens organization. We'll see what Kapanen will be in the lineup or not. But how you feel about that Channel players in our top?
Well, Kapanen, we kind of anticipated that as soon as his season was over, he'd be making the trek over. I mean, if he comes on to the Montreal squad, I mean, I don't see how it hurts, right? If he knows the system, he played here for 12 games at the beginning of the year, and even though some of the pieces and parts have changed in terms of making some adaptations to their system, I still think he'll fit in fairly well, especially if your expectation isn't to put him on the second line. That would be a little bit dicier in my eyes. And with Fowler, right now, I'm not going to put a lot of stock into the things that we're hearing out there because obviously, both camps are trying to establish what's best for either their client, in this case Fowler, or what's best for Montreal, right? You're definitely not going to throw them into a key, important Montreal Canadian game as they're trying to get into a playoff spot at this stage, just to burn 1 year of his ELC.
No, No,
I think if for whatever reason Montreal starts losing 3 or 4 games in a row, and you kind of start seeing the writing on the wall that they're not going to make it, then I could see the possibility of him, playing at least a game here in Montreal. But otherwise, I think he'll be a good addition for Laval.
Fowler.
Yeah, can he play for
Yes.
Laval? Yeah,
Yeah, you can play for Laval for sure.
yeah,
He
Right
has
now
to
it
sign it.
depends, right? The three rules or the three options are if you sign with Montreal, you cannot play with Laval.
Yeah,
true,
yeah,
true.
If you get a tryout with a Laval, but he does not
yeah.
have a 1 year burn in NHL. So this is the reason between the conversation between both of them, between both Cam.
What are
Is
they calling it? They call them. They call those agreements ATOs, like American League tryouts or something
yeah,
like that. I've been
yeah,
Yeah,
professional
yeah,
American
yeah.
League. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like listen, Kapanen, like, I think we saw what he could do early in the season. And I don't think at any point our analysis on this show, anyways, like we didn't feel he hurt the team in any way. Like there was a couple times we saw some nice flashes, but certainly never hurt the team. And Eric Engels had a really great article out earlier today. I think I was reading sometime this afternoon when I was working, when I was taking a little break. And yeah, so interesting article. Like he decided to interview Heineman, who played in the same league last year. So he would be in a very good position. Sorry, Coach, are you going to cover this? Should I not be talking about this?
No, I
Or
was
do you
going
want
to
me
say that. Welcome, Dave, for the Bell Media. I was just kidding.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Hello, friends from Bell Media. Yeah. So yeah, it was a good interview. Like, Heineman is in a good position to give us information about what Kapanen did this year because he played in that league, right? So in the interview, he talks to Eric Engels talking about how impressive it is that Kapanen scored like almost a point per game in that league. Cause like you were saying, and the coach is like super defensive league. So as a 21-year-old putting up almost a point a game, Heineman feels pretty confident that, fans and teammates are going to see a pretty different player than what we maybe saw in November. So maybe a little bit more confident, a little bit more experience. So I don't think it can hurt guys. Like, I think they've kind of tried everything, right? It's kind of like that. You lost like a spare part for something, and you're trying to find like all different that one missing piece, right? After Doc got injured, and they're just trying to find the right balance. So why not give it a try? I didn't hate Roy in the lineup. Like everybody seems to. I think he scored 2 goals. He did make a couple mistakes. One of them cost a goal. But I didn't hate what he was bringing to the lineup, even though I agree that Heineman is a better fit in that top 6. I would have still given Roy a try on that line. I think he's shown that he can play responsibly, in the World Juniors and stuff like that. But listen, they don't seem to have faith in him right now. So go with Kapanen. I don't see how it can hurt, and it could give the team a bit of a boost. Some new energy.
Do you guys believe that maybe at this stage Raw has run out of lives in Montreal? That is,
I don't know. Like it seemed like to me, like if there was any, if the team really believed in you, like it's like I think Martin Saint Louis in a couple of the interviews said like at some point, your runway is going to end. Like I don't think he said it in those words in particular, right? But the way that he presented it basically is like he doesn't have that many new things. So like it's not a new experience for him now, right? It's really up for him to come in and grab a spot if he can, right? So again, my perception of him, my analysis of him, like we've talked about here before, it's skating, right? Like that's really kind of the issue because I think he has all the right hockey instincts. Coach, you mentioned it the last time. It's not that he doesn't fall around. Like he wins battles. He's got really smart hockey sense. Got a good shot, good vision, all the things that you want. It's just can he get there? And in the NHL, guys, like it's a fast league, and if you can't get to the spots that you need to, it's a split second thing, right? So I don't know. So for Kapanen, I think it's what can it hurt, right? Like they're playing Pizzetta 5 minutes, guys. So try him out. What's the worst thing that can happen? Like that Eric Engels article I was talking about, it was like half of it was about Kapanen, and the other half was a love letter to Pizzetta. So if you're not a huge Gazetta fan, maybe skip the second part of the article. Coach, I don't recommend reading the second part of the article for you.
All
Yeah,
right.
read it. It was well done.
Montreal Canadiens recap game. Montreal 3, Florida Panthers 2. Mr. Nartap, we're going to talk about this right there. And I want to talk about Mr. Marco. Hold on, because I removed all the box during the show.
It's okay.
The Habs sweep the Panthers 4W and 4 attempts and 4 matchup. Suzuki 2 goal, 2-point goal winning game during the playoff. 5th of the season for Suzuki. Hutson 3 assists, 6 points the last 2 games. Paul Maurice has had some kind of nightmare last night. Montembeault, great game between the pipe. I think for Montembeault, make a stop at the right time. The Wild tied the game for 4 with Marco Rossi, 23 goals of the season. Panthers dominate most of the game. Honestly, the third period was all about the Panthers. Then Cooley impact again, third game with the Montreal Canadiens. You can see he's getting better and better. And a great pairing with Hutson. Finally, the third line. Solid game. I think was the best line for the Montreal Canadiens. They were racked again. And then a great game with Anderson and Gallagher. All three together have a good game. And have anything else you can add about this? Just give you a bit an overview happening for between. I will start with Marco. I know Marco, you have to go at some point. So give us a bit what you think about the overall of that game. What you pay you a little bit more attention and what you were most impressive for you.
Well, first of all, it's massively impressive that Montreal Canadiens swept the Florida Panthers this season. So we'll start with that. That's I don't think any of us had that. Yeah, I don't think any of us had that on our bingo card at the beginning of the year. So we'll happily take that. But no, Coach, I think all the main points are here. I do disagree slightly with a statement that the Panthers dominated in the third period. Like for sure, like they were protecting the lead. Like Paul Maurice, he was pretty clear, right? Like he with the guys that they're missing, he's more focused on the process that they're playing more so than the results, right? Because it's not going to be a huge difference whether they play at home. Like they don't seem to care that much. So they're more focused on the process. So they want to be in like 2-1 games, right? So for them, this was kind of like exactly what they wanted. And for the most part, like to me, the thing that I find the most satisfying, and this, maybe some people thought it was a little bit boring or whatever, because it's not like a 4-3 game. But to me, this is, exactly the type of lessons that Montreal needs to learn. To me, like the times that this year that Montreal has been the most successful is when they're patient, is when they stick to their game plan. And that's why we saw, say, that move from Xhekaj, right, where he was impatient, went across, turned that 3-on-2 into a 2-on-1. Those are the things that St. Louis wants to kind of take out, right? So to me, the biggest takeaway for me, I think it was a pretty even game. There was parts where Montreal carried the play. And then I think in the third period, there was parts where Montembeault definitely held them in, but I don't think it was dominance. I think it was a pretty even game. There's even parts, I think, where Montreal was carrying the play. But I think to me, the biggest takeaway is Montreal is gaining in maturity, able to stay patient, not force things. And that's exactly what teams like the Florida Panthers want you to do, right? Like if you're trailing by a goal, because let's be honest, guys, like the 2 goals they had, lucky bounces, right? Like they're deflections. Like Montreal scored on themselves twice. It's like basically 2 own goals last night. So if you take away those, it's kind of a different game. So I love the patience, the discipline for them to stay within their game. So great stuff. And this is, the kind of hockey that they're like, they need to take the same patience, because they're good. Like next step here, guys, like I don't want to go too far ahead, but we're going to be playing teams that are out of playoff contention for the most part. So these are teams, Martin St. Louis talks about this all the time. When you have a team that's losing in the third period and they come out and they play loose and they're less predictable, right? So that's what we're going to see the next 3 games. We're going to see teams that are less predictable. They have less to lose. They're going to be playing looser. So Montreal can't fall into that trap. They need to stay patient and they need to stay with their game plan and not fall into that. So to me, that's the biggest takeaway. Very exciting end of the game. Obviously, I've watched the highlights like at least 10 times today. So awesome. There's so many videos on social media, guys. Like all of a sudden on all the podcasts, all over social media, Montreal Canadiens were all across the NHL. People are talking about Hutson. They're talking about the Montreal Canadiens. So lots of content for us who usually we watch other podcasts. Entertap, I know you. I see you in a lot. I see you in all the other podcasts I watch too, and they never talk about Montreal. Like Montreal has been out of relevance for so long. So for us Habs fans, and we're fans of these other podcasts, and we watch all kinds of hockey. It's just great to see Montreal in the conversation, relevant. Everybody's talking about it. So as a Habs fan, super exciting to see that.
Yeah, it's so exciting to see them going through this developmental stage, and and the key thing is they're doing it right. Um, the way they're developing the players, the way they're drafting them, the way they're deploying their services, like in terms of ice time, and yeah, there's a few kinks in the armor sometimes, and they still have some contracts that they need to clear out before they get down to their the type of team that I think will be a serious threat in the playoffs. But they're building on something that will last for the long period, the long haul, right? I think this is a team that could be strong for the next 12 to 15 years, the way they're built. Uh, the only thing, Marco, I would sort of not push back on, but I would maybe disagree a little bit on is I thought, yeah, the first period I thought Montreal really carried the play, and I was kind of surprised because we usually know when they come back from any team comes back from a long road trip, you tend to have the rubbery legs, and it's like skating in quicksand to a certain degree. But I thought the second period, I thought really Florida took it to them, 13-7 were the shots on net, and then when they got that goal that I think it was Xhekaj that scored. They really shut things down in that third period. Like they clogged up that neutral zone. They didn't allow Montreal really to get anything going. And if you look even at their shots on net, like they only had 4 shots on net. Like,
Yeah, like if you look at the shots, you're right, but if you go back and watch even just the highlights on NHL.com, you'll see like Montreal had some really, really grade A scoring chances. Like there was a couple of like odd man rushes. There was a couple like remember there was that play by Gooley, like Evans kind of broke. And then do you remember
yeah,
that play from Gooley? Like he's completely alone, and instead of going towards the net, he almost
yeah,
like skated backwards before
He
shooting. But
reset his shot.
yeah,
but
yeah.
he again, like as you can see, he doesn't get in those opportunities very often, right? Because that he had a clear lane to the net, right? But again, go back. Like I know the shots and probably the the
Yeah,
ozone
but
time was a little
uh,
disproportionate.
it's just that it's Florida's type of game. When they have that lead, they're probably
Yeah.
one of the best, if not the best, in terms of shutting things down. And I thought
Mhm.
yesterday really wasn't that much different. It's not that Montreal wasn't trying to push the play, but I just didn't see high. Well, you can't get very many high dangers scoring opportunities if you're only, at 4 shots on net. But I'm glad that they worked it out, and they got
But I
that
think
late
that
goal, and yeah.
yeah, but see, I think that goes into my point, right? Is that Montreal, they could see, and Sandy, we talked about this in his press conference, right? Like Florida, he said it. This is almost exactly what he said. The thing with Florida is that they're so aggressive. Sometimes you can get chances on them because they're so aggressive, right? But he was impressed with how much they were leaving a guy back and being so disciplined. So that's what I mean about
Hmm.
the biggest thing I liked about the game last night is that Montreal recognized that Florida was playing really tight. So instead of like feeling the pressure and having to force things, like for example, that Slavkovsky pass again into middle of the ice that he ended up taking a penalty because he had to go in and kind of like fix his mistake. You didn't see that's pretty much the only one I can think of like that. The rest of the time, and again,
Yeah.
to the average hockey fan that's watching, they're like, "Oh man, they're not trying, or they're not being aggressive. They're not like trying things. They're not pushing hard enough." But the whole secret behind this, guys, is, and it worked, right? Is that you want to kind of stay in the game, be patient, because like Florida got 2 bounces, their 2 goals were favorable bounces. Guess how Montreal tied it up? Like that goal could have happened with 10 seconds left, but if Montreal was pressing earlier in the second period or in the third period, and Florida scores on an odd man rush because Montreal's pushing something that's not there, well, that goal doesn't mean anything because you got yourself out of the game. So staying disciplined and playing chess with the Florida Panthers or whichever team that are locking it down, it just gives you an opportunity. Like St. Louis always says, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to win, but it gives you a chance to win most games. And I think that's that's my takeaway from last night is that yes, Florida, of course they applied pressure. You know, it's the Florida Panthers. They're a good team. But I love how Montreal reacted and they stayed disciplined. They stayed in the game and then they got the bounce. They got the bounce that they were looking for at the end. So to me, that's how you have winning hockey, baby. That's what you got to do.
Great comments about that. I like the fact, like, Montreal played the same side the Florida Panthers, I believe. Like, they was patient, they wait, and they said they only one shot or one goal to tie the game, and that's what we're looking for on that. But I would just disagree with you, I think, with you, Marco. I think Florida really controlled the game at the third period. They don't give a lot of opportunity for Montreal to attack or to control the puck or puck position. The space was not there. It reminded me, for me, it was like a boxing match where the Montreal was a boxer. It was just trying to hanging there and the fight, and then wait for the at the moment to knock out the opponent. And that's what I see.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, so we're saying the same thing. Like, yes, like, but to me, that's not dominance, right? Like that's, like I said, Montreal could see that Florida was playing super tight, so they didn't push anything.
Was
they didn't
excellent, Marco. Yeah, I think it was one of the best excellent for checking Florida apply against Montreal Canadiens this season. In my opinion.
Yeah, and let's not discount that also Monty made a couple of big saves in that third period that kept it a one goal deficit. But I get your point, Marco. You're saying that they didn't succumb to the pressure, right? They stayed with it. I get that, but I just thought that they were a little bit more physical. They really just clogged up that neutral zone, and I didn't see Montreal really trying to. They couldn't produce very much, and that's not a knock on Montreal as much as it is a compliment on Florida.
Yeah,
like they're Stanley Cup champions for a reason.
Yeah, for sure, and that's what, again, to me, that's the biggest positive of the game, right? So you played. So if Montreal beats Florida and they have a shitty game, what does it mean? So to me, it's more positive. Like Montreal beat Florida and they actually had a very good game. Like there wasn't a lot of So to me, that's very positive that Florida played well. Montreal was patient. They didn't stretch anything. They didn't force things, and they got their break, which they deserved. Like, and Suzuki said it in his interview, and that interview after the game there with Marc Denis. I don't know if you guys watched that on RDS, but man, like nobody left. Like the whole crowd was
still but they left at 29 seconds, but they come back.
maybe. But like Suzuki said it in his interview, he's like, we got that break at the end, but we deserved it. And I agree. Like Montreal did not steal this game. So, and I guess that's like when I hear the word dominate, to me, it's like, okay, Montreal was like, Montembeault goal lead Florida, and Montreal was lucky to come out with the win. I don't think that's true.
No.
Two more things I would say to you, Marco, is about, when we talk about meaningful game, this is a great example of what they learned from that. And I think for me, Montreal on that one is about maturity. I think they understand what it takes now to go and they compete against those teams. And this is really the most important thing for a long term for the Montreal Canadiens. So we have to give credit about that for sure, Montreal Canadiens. But we have to get them as an out Canadian. You can see that both game and both goal and Nick Suzuki yesterday. So the vibes is in the Montreal city right now. It's just fun. It's just fun to see that. I know we are far to be a contender playoff Stanley Cup right now, and the circumstance this year gave a chance for Montreal to be in the playoff. We cannot to give that credit for the Montreal what they are doing right now. but it's still a long way to get what they want to be. But we have to enjoy that, and I think the fans deserve it. The fans deserve it. If you are at the game yesterday, uh, the you know it's only in Montreal. The playoff is like that in Montreal, and to feel that in the April, not many of us will predict that's what happening this season. We'll see. We still to see Monsieur Nartap. Luc Lafortune could be the one predict the 88 point for the Montreal Canadiens. That would be. Listen, I'm going to do a dance live, Monsieur Nartap, if ever happening for Luc Lafortune on that one. And Marco, the stood out the obscure and at the office for the Montreal Canadiens. And you get that one.
Geez, like I find it's hard to like. I find like it's always like it's pretty much always the same guys for me recently. Like so I guess I'll flip it because last time I think it was my guy was Hudson for stood out. So I'll flip it around, but really it's interchangeable right now between Suzuki and Hudson, right? So that's for me who stood out. I probably again it's like Suzuki. Like obviously had like massive clutch moments at the end of the game. But if you're talking impact throughout the whole game, you have to say Hudson too, right? So, but I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard one to decide. Pick your poison. Either one of those guys.
You take
right?
one, I'll take the other, Marco.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll take Suzuki just so that I'm not super repetitive every show that's my guy. But in terms of obscure, who would I pick this time? Like, I guess I don't know. Like that's a tough one. Like I guess like I chose Struble last time, so I guess I'll go Gooley, right? Because it's not really obscure because he had that really everybody's talking about him. Like I think people noticed him, right? So for me, obscure is somebody that people aren't talking about as much. So I don't know. Like it seems like everybody was playing super well. It's a really tough one. So I don't know. I guess I'll go Gooley because like he's not Suzuki and not Coffee or like so.
I can give you my for you, maybe helping you.
Sure.
For me, it would be Christian Dvorak.
Okay. Like still, solid on the faceoffs. Like not too many PKs. Like there was like 2 penalties against Montreal. So but he had his faceoff was really strong again last night. Some key defensive draws. And that third line again, like guys like. With the main line, the first line, kind of the overall 5-on-5 play dipping over the last maybe 3-4 games. That Dvorak line has been carrying them. And did you guys see the comments that came from the Florida dressing room and from Paul Maurice about why Montreal is so good right now? I don't know if you guys already talked about that before I came on, but
go ahead.
It was really cool how other teams are describing Montreal is that. All their lines don't play the same way. Like they throw different looks at you. Like the third line plays completely different. Like obviously it's all within the same concepts that Martin Saint-Louis has, but all the lines have like different kind of components to it, right? It's not like 4 lines coming at you that always play the same way. Because like the Dvorak line plays like very much north-south hockey, right? While the Suzuki line is very different. We're not sure what the second line is yet. Like it's still evolving and whatever. And we know what the fourth line is, right? But so like great pick. Like again, there's a lot of guys you could pick. In terms of at the office, you could talk to Evans, I guess. Like be careful when you're blocking shots, I guess, or if you're gonna block the shot, block the whole shot. Don't tip it. Did you guys see the play where Monty made like a really nice save and then Matheson like shot the rebound at him? Like I think maybe he was thinking he was just gonna. No, that was Matheson.
Matheson, I think.
Yeah. So I'd maybe bring him in the office.
He returned the puck right there. I think Sakowski sent the puck in front of the net. But
that was
he's talking about. He's returned the puck to Montembeault. Yeah.
No. So basically, Monty made a really nice save, and then Matheson, like sometimes the defenseman will like slowly push the puck towards him so they can freeze it. He just snapped it right back at Monty. Like it was an incredible second save that Monty made. So maybe you have Gooley in and say, hey, can you not? Or sorry, you bring Matheson. Can you not take like slot like snipes at our goalie when we're down by 1. So maybe that's a good video opportunity for Mr. Matheson on that one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mr. Nartap, now, do you say your other office, Mike Madison?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I think I said Evans.
Okay.
Evans, so he doesn't. Yeah.
Mr.
either of those
Nartap
guys.
stood out, obscure other office.
Okay, so with my stood out, since you went with Suzuki, Marco, I'll go with Hutson. I don't think we have to elaborate on that too much. He's been doing it pretty much all year long, not just last night. But it seems like in the last few games, and especially since the Four Nations, he's just on a different tier right now. And
Yeah.
every time you see his name, it's always in context to either a new record that he's chasing or has already broken. So obscure, I'm gonna go with Montebo. I thought really,
Good point.
especially in that third period, he made a two that I can recall vividly, big saves at key times. That had they gone up 3-1, Florida at that point, I think it would have been pretty much lights out. He just kept them in the game, a fighting chance, and also obscure because I think he's taken a lot of heat over the last little while in terms of maybe fatigue or the lack of quality saves or let's just say not lack of quality saves, but the kind of goals that he's let in at times, especially from a distance, not tracking the puck very well. So I think that's why I'll put him in as obscure. And to the office, I would agree. I'll go with Jake Evans.
Oh,
I
ho, ho.
think.
The Capitals right now, and the Canes, and now Tom Wilson is losing. He takes Stankoven. Wilson over Stankoven.
Oh wow!
Whoa. Okay. Whoa. Holy geez. Stankoven. Oh. Stankoven is actually. He's tough, that kid, man. That kid is brave.
Yeah. He's
I
built
love
like
that kid,
a bulldog, man.
KK right there too. I love that kid, man. Like I said, he was.
A little.
They built him in a laboratory to eventually play for the Hurricanes. Like he's such a perfect fit to play there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him, man.
A little message sending before the playoffs.
Yeah,
right?
maybe.
So I apologize, in our tap. Repeat again.
That's okay. So stood out was Hutson, obscure Montebo, and to the office, I'll send Jake Evans again. I think I don't know if he's playing a bit injured or the fact that maybe Armia is the one that's injured, and it kind of takes away from that line a little bit when he's not doing a lot of shooting. But I find even just the level of, I mean, we knew that Evans wasn't going to continue at a shooting percentage or scoring percentage of 30%, and I think he's come down to earth. He's last time I checked, I think he was around 16 or 17%, which is still pretty good, but and he has a number of
his shooting percentage doesn't move because he's not shooting at all. So
well,
maybe that's why he's not shooting. He wants to keep his shooting percentage so high, so he's not shooting anymore. That's a good way to
possibly. So I'll send him there for a quick refresher.
Yeah, stood out. Look, you talk about honestly, Hutson Suzuki. Everything started with Lane Hutson for me, on my opinion. Both choice. Obscure, I talk about Christian Devarek. I think the third line was really good. They have no problem to skate with the team. For that, I think they was for checking well. Yeah, something's going on all the time. Marco, when that line was on the ice, I know so they was good overall for that. And then at the office, look, it's just because I expect more. It's not because I don't like him. It's just I want him to be performed. And when you talk about meaningful game, it's very important for his young age to learn about that. I think Xhekaj have a difficult game yesterday. You need a Xhekaj better. That's my point behind that. It's just to remind him, look, you cannot go up those kind of game, but important like that to step up. You have to step up. You have to skate, at least skate harder. Use your body at some point. It's just like a flow game for me for Xhekaj. Just a quick remind him. Madison have to step up a little bit more, in my opinion, also at the office. You talk about Jake Evans. Also, we need more for Jake Evans. Awareness for me for him. He have a very good PK overall, I believe.
Yeah, like
For him. But this is what I'm talking about the Montreal Canadiens yesterday. I think overall we have to be proud of that, and I think this is the way to do that. And I feel the playoff, Mr. Nartap. I feel that Montreal is getting there. I think they're going to make it. It's just the Hollywood story. I repeat again for the Montreal Canadiens. So for me, they remind me a lot of Tina Turner at the show concern, Mr. Nartap. Go, Mr. Nartap. A little bit disco music. Marco love the
Well
music
done.
and the way. So we're going to finish the event.
okay. Sure. Why don't if Devin wants to jump in, then
We wait. We
we-
invite him, Devin, when he wants to jump in. That'd be good. No problem with that part, of course. And we're going to have another subject here. I want to talk about the race. Become a race a three team. Are you agree with that part when I said that? I want to show to you first of all for both of you the standing before the game tonight. Montreal right now is 79 points, 2 over the Columbus Blue Jacket, but Columbus have the same. Is going to have a one game in hands. And then the Rangers with tonight is 4-4 with 4 minutes 28. The Detroit at 75 with 8 games to go. The New York Islanders 74 with 5 point, and not 5 game, but 4 and 5 point. Do you think now the Detroit will take almost like a play for Islanders for 800 and the Detroit for 700 to join the Montreal Canadiens? And this is also very important. Apologize, Marco, because we start this so to change everything. David, what is coming? I think there's a great graphic we got on the internet. And now we have another fight or brawl right there. And now we have a burns between that. We have 2 players right there. And it's getting now Zuhaim.
No love lost.
Jankowski. Wow, talk about a deadline pickup, Jankowski. Guys
Yeah.
have been on absolute
Yeah.
fire. Whoa, Duhaime takes a big spill there.
It
in the
was
center ice.
just.
Jankowski,
It was just.
Jost. Wow.
Jost.
Wow,
Ovi's just looking
Zuhaim.
from the bench. Ovi's just looking from the bench. Like, I just want to. Where's Gretzky? Like, is Gretzky traveling yet with Washington? Like, he's got to be around soon, eh? Like to be for the big.
I think he's going to be from here on in.
I just heard something from Ray Leonard. He said it's not the same kind of hockey we play in NCAA.
A little bit different.
I don't know what I'm going to be in the next 10 years. But he said, welcome, Mr. Ray Leonard.
Welcome to the NHL.
So this is a calendar, guys, in front of you. Montreal is right now the easier schedule compared to other team. Of course, it's not guaranteed to give you,
Easy.
Easy. Everything. But Columbus have also really Toronto, Ottawa, and then they have Washington. Not easy schedule for Columbus. The Rangers have New Jersey the next 3 days, then Tampa Bay, and then Carolina, Florida Panthers, and Tampa Bay. Rangers also. Detroit Islanders, I think this is over for them. I don't see they can repeat. Look about Detroit, guys. Carolina, Florida, and they have to play Montreal. Florida, Tampa Bay, Dallas, New Jersey, Toronto. Detroit is 7 or 8 game with the playoff team. And the Islanders right now, they're going to play Minnesota. And then Washington, Nashville, Rangers. A little bit easier for them, but they have to win 6 of the last 8 games. So what do you feel about that, Marco?
I wouldn't count out. Like, I'm not saying that I think the Red Wings will do it, but I know, like, I don't know. I don't put as much weight on the strength of the schedule thing. Like, it doesn't. I don't think it matters as much as people think. Like, at this time of year, like I said, there's those teams are going to play loose. They're going to play with less structure, while the other team is playing a little bit tighter. So we've seen it. Like, we've been on the other side of that before. Like
if you look at about Marco, for me, the only thing I would say to you a little bit disagree a little bit is because the back-to-back game. And when you have a back-to-back game, you're losing your backup number two. Like the Rangers have only one back-to-back game compared to Columbus, Montreal. A little bit advantage for the Rangers, and we know the points differential or the game winning, the Rangers lead over the Montreal and the Columbus. And I can understand your point of view because at the end where we are, they have to win all the game at the end, right?
All I'm saying is that I'm not prepared to say it's like a 2 or 3. Like I think the Islanders, I think they're like 5 points out now, or 7 or 5.
5.
You just
5,
showed it.
5.
Yeah, I think 5 points is right on the edge, right? Like they need to put together a pretty big run and see somebody step back. But to me, I would say it's more of like a 4-team race. I'd say Montreal, Columbus, Rangers, and again, I wouldn't cut out the Red Wings yet because they've shown that they can go on a run. Like it hasn't happened in a while, but they went on that run of like 8-9 games where their power play can get really hot. So really, I don't know. Like I get it. Like we're trying to predict based on kind of the strength of the schedule, and I don't disagree with the premise of doing that. And I think you're right. Like back-to-back games is something to look at for sure. But at this stage, like it's been such a crazy season, Coach. Like there's so much parity, it's going to go down to the wire. I think
I'm
it's going
sorry,
to go down to the
I
wire.
opened the graphic, guys. Carolina play against Washington. That's what I was looking again.
One more time.
Brendan Moore is furious. Like I can see his eyes right now. He wants to jump in. He wants to play right now. He's skating. He's skating right now. He wants to jump in the ice. Rob Brendan Moore is.
Oh, he's in shape. He's in shape.
I can't blame you for watching that game. But so you guys continue to watch that. But I'll let you know the Rangers in Minnesota are about to go into overtime here. So the Rangers are going to get a point. There's 30 seconds left here.
Another fight. Now it's make me call again. Chatfield. McCall is not. But he want to get there. Oh, he got reversed easy on that one, guys. The only thing you don't want as a coach.
McMichael just got brought down hard there. Well, I think he might have hit his head on the ice there. Ooh.
Yeah. You don't want anybody get hurt before but this is a preview, a possible final Metropolitan Division playoff second round. This will be fun to watching another one over there. But look, this is a playoff time, and that's happening when you lead by 4 goals at the end with 5 minutes to go remaining on that one. Minnesota, like you said, and the Rangers are going to be playoff. We're going to invite Devin. One Devin show up, and Marco, you can go if you don't mind. That'd be great. And after you want to add something, I apologize. I slipped with what's going on the TV.
No, it's okay. I think a lot of the key points were mentioned, but I mean, I would agree. I wouldn't discount anybody. I don't look at the strength of the schedule as much. There is some validity, but I mean, at the end of the day, you have to win those games, right? But I mean, the part that's fascinating to me is if you look at all 4 or 5 teams there, like look at their their record in the last 10 games. Montreal 4-3-3, Columbus 3-6-1, Rangers 4-5-1. Same thing with Detroit, and the Islanders 3-4-3. So it's almost like who wants to step up and take this? And the only good thing that favors Montreal is the fact that they're in the driver's seat. So as long as they just do their job and keep winning, they don't have much to worry about.
It's like Pac-Man, right? You just want to kind of num. You just keep eating the points. Like if the one thing that the Canadiens and the Islanders have a bit in common, they have the other guys are losing more losing in regulation, not getting that. So they have 3 losses in overtime or shootout. The Islanders, and so does Montreal, right? So to me, that shows teams that are kind of like grinding, finding ways to get points, even if they're not playing well. The Rangers, it's a bit trickier for them to do that. So, although as I say that, they're currently in overtime. So, all right, guys. Well, I'll take this opportunity to pause in the flow to say adieu. I will see you tomorrow night, Coach. I'm excited to. I didn't get a chance to go do any screen grabs of your call of the overtime goal, but I might go back and see if I can do some screenshots don't forget about me when you're making calls. That I want good moments where I can take screenshots and we can share that all over the internet because those are priceless. So thank you
Thanks so
very
much,
much, Hockey
Marco,
Nation.
to stop
See
by
you
tonight.
tomorrow.
We appreciate a lot. You have your time will be
Thanks,
with us.
Marco.
Then we're going to wait for the event to pop up. But Marco, we'll see you next week at some point. It's a little bit difficult with which on the program because what's going on
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the race.
it's all good.
But I like the
All good.
fact you bring after the game. We check the post game on the Montreal. I think it's fun to. The people like it,
Yeah,
by the way. So
yeah, we could maybe do some post game stuff.
Good
I don't
stuff.
mind jumping on for like 10-15 minutes after the game and sharing some thoughts. That would be fun.
all right. Have a good
Sounds
night,
All right, guys.
Marco. We're going
Bye.
to wait
Take care,
Devin
Marco.
to join us the next couple of minutes in our top. Then we're going to talk about this for that one. Listen, it's like Billy Martin in our top. I feel like you are the Billy Martin. He called the guy from the
Uh-oh,
reliever on the box right there, Mr. on top, and right there he pop up
Breaking news. Breaking news.
the right
Breaking news.
the right handle, the right throwing baseball players show up. We talk about Mr. on top. Of course, Rolly
Breaking
Fingers.
Rolly fingers.
Yeah.
Welcome, Devin. Bad news, guys. Bad news. The Rangers have just
Yep.
scored in overtime.
We went from
Oh,
the
the
A team
Rangers
to the
win
B
tonight.
team.
Yeah.
Ah,
Not good. Not good.
now
They're
the
the team
Montreal
that
are out of
worries
the
me.
playoff.
Right. So
No,
I take back
no,
that
they are not because they have
they're tied.
one game in hands now.
Yeah, you're right
Yeah.
on percentage points.
Yeah. You look about the standing right there. Now they have 75 points, so they are the same number of points. Montreal at one game in hand, so they're going to be still in the spot number 8, the Montreal Canadiens. But like you said, in our top, it would be better if the Rangers lose by one.
Well,
Like this,
the other
that
thing
would
is
boost, them.
they have the tiebreaker, right? The regular wins. I think they're up significantly over Montreal. I think by six games. So
Yep.
it can end in a tie. That's that. I mean, wouldn't that be a real horrible way not to make the playoffs? You finish tied with the Rangers and they get in because of the RW. Wow, that would be
Yes.
bad.
That would be very difficult about that. You're going to see the one game they lost 1 point there, 1 point there, 1 point there. We'll
Yeah.
see a couple of people pop up. We thank all of you guys. Example, Nicholas. Then we have Gary Cornoyer. And then we have, of course, Roger Delaney a little bit earlier. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget, guys, click on the likes. And I think, Mr. Devin, welcome back. By the way, glad to see you first time of the week. Hopefully you're doing well. I just did a show at his YouTube channel, The Recliner Sport. And look forward to talk to you about this. I want to talk about I want to talk about this, guys. The last stretch on Montreal. We talk about 8 games. We talk about what's going on in the standing right there. I think we need more for veterans. I think they don't play at the level we expect, and I think that's hurt the Montreal game. We need them to be step up because the veterans bring leadership. Most of them have bring also lead by example on different ways, and they have a specific role inside the Montreal Canadiens. And this is what I'm looking for. So I would like to hear you what you think, what you feel about that, what you think. We start with Devin about this. Talk about Sarah Madison Armia events. You can talk about other veterans, but I think this is really what we're looking for. And give us what you think about that subject.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think the Armia and Evans certainly are not playing at the level they were earlier in the season. Like Evans was a pretty big factor for quite a while on this team. He was a big contributor. He was scoring goals. He was I mean, I think he's still playing quite well. Kept killing penalties and all that. I don't think that has disappeared, but. I mean, there was a period there where every week he was getting a couple of big goals or big points and was contributing in a real significant way. And I think that's kind of fallen off a little bit, which I don't think is unexpected. I mean, I don't think anybody expected him to maintain that pace. Armia, I think, is playing hurt, and I think there's something going on there with him that we maybe don't know about. I think that that Gallagher and Anderson are still doing their part. Matheson has been a little bit up and down, maybe. Obviously, I think we talked either on last week's show or the week before that. We talked about how he shut down McKinnon and McDavid and all those guys over that sort of that 5 or 6. Yeah, he's struggled a little bit since then. Hasn't been the same guy. But it's he's again, I'm not ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater on that one. So I still think that Matheson brings a lot, and obviously he's a little bit inconsistent, and he has the ability to make some really really ugly plays, and I think those kind of stand out sometimes. But yeah, I agree with that. I think that as Marco likes to point out in our group chat, is that this team is the best when they can roll 4 lines, and when all 4 lines are contributing and everybody in the lineup is doing their part from top to bottom. That's when this team is at its best, right? When you can throw any line out there and you're confident that they're going to do their job and do what it takes. And there was a time where the third and fourth line were doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and the first and second line were maybe not doing as much. And so I think you're right. I think there's we if this team is going to do anything in the playoffs or even make the playoffs, I think that they probably will need more from certainly guys like Armia and Evans, and they're going to need continued work from Gallagher and Anderson and guys like that.
Good point about that. Mr. Nartap, how you feel about this individually or a group?
No, I agree with a lot of things Devin put forth there. I think both Armia. Armia right now is playing really with one hand. Like, if anything, personally, I question he. What if he's out there? Is he really helping us? I know it helps on the penalty kill, but there's been opportunities for him to, try to get some shots on net, and you can see he's really struggling with that. And Evans, has to sort of return a little bit more to his usual form. He hasn't been bad, but he just hasn't been scoring at any level of consistency like he was earlier on. Hence, that fourth line, which was one of the top lines in the NHL at one point, now is no longer. Matheson, I think the key thing there is reducing his ice time, right? He's most effective when he doesn't draw the most time on ice. And I think the last 2 games against Florida, if you look at his time on ice, the 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago when they played, he had the 3rd most for defenders. And last night he was 2nd behind Hutson. And I think when he's not out there trying to do too much, he's much more effective. Savard, unfortunately, you can see the age has caught up with him. He's not quick. It's easy to skate around him, but he's effective in specific circumstances like penalty kill, and exerting a little bit of physicality when he's in the corner. But he has trouble making that first pass out. It's not like the game is like he's at the stage. I believe he'll probably end up retiring at the end of the year.
Anything else for that for me, guys, about the leadership they bring, right? When you have meaningful game, you are right now on where they at. Suzuki did lead completely, honestly. Suzuki is amazing. But for me, we need more for those what the specific road. Savard, we need him to step up more on the PK example. Madison, keep this more simple. His risk management is better, but the pairing with Carrier, they are struggling together. And now I feel like he need to be a little bit more step up his game. He has 0 point the last 10 game for Madison. It's not about the point, but I think his game, like you said, Devin, since he play after I was one who stepped up about Madison. So look what he did the last couple of games. Ben said that he's terrible. So maybe we have to give him, Mr. Natab, the Turkey Awards at this moment. Maybe wake him up about that to get there. Armia, we cannot complaining about Armia. I play with only one hand, but still, Jake Evan, that line, we need to do a bit more. Yesterday, Jake Evan have a really bad game. He's saying front track. Offensively is not there. He does something, but we need more at Jake Evan. My point behind that, we need more for the bottom six to step up to give better chance for the Montreal again, and not only count always every night on that line, Nick Suzuki. And Christian Devarek line is pretty good, but we need a little bit more for the bottom of the return from Montreal again. Would be very interesting what happening. You show up at the right time, Devin, because we talk about the the subject of the night is about Suzuki and Hutson elite players. So before we give you answer, guys, I'm going to give you some information, and then from that, you're going to give us a little bit what you think about this. I apologize, Devin, because we removed the square number 2, so you're going to pop up like that during the show for that one. Exceptional brain. The way they think about the game, guys, is amazing, in my opinion. And I will give you an example why I consider them elite players already. Because think about that play. Montreal go get there. Sakeski pick the puck behind the net. The Florida Panthers are going to use for checking. See at the bottom, at the top, or on the board, Suzuki right there at the hash mark is Hutson, and at the top circle is Suzuki. The reaction when you see that is get out of the zone. That's it. That's all. That's what they're thinking about this. And always said from the coach, take a picture, a frame of 0.5. And they think about this guy, you say, wait a minute, the Florida Panthers right now are 3 players right there. Again, 3 of our team. So again, already on the situation to get out. Montreal right now with 18.2, they still have Montembeault in the net. It's 5 versus 5. So they already thinking what they need to do is get out of the zone. Of course, you get the pass of Sakeski to Hutson. Hutson right now, look, Jones. John right now play the puck with Hutson. Hutson is going to decide to go backwards a bit more, go at the red line, at the blue line. But now check Suzuki completely on the other side. Suzuki, he can see right now, he said, look, if I'm coming down, nobody watching me. All the head are inaptized by Hutson. You can see the 4 player of the Florida Panthers guy looking for Hutson. What's the point behind that? Suzuki is thinking, they work with the brain. Suzuki is thinking, I'm going to go to the goal line. Right. Because if Hutson rim the puck around the board, Suzuki can pick up the puck behind the net of him. And if he shoot the puck, if that's happening, Reinhardt, he tried to be Chris Spire, mission attack in front of the goaltender, and he tipped the puck straight to Suzuki to score the goal. Point behind that, guys, is this way. Suzuki right now have 79 points, his highest number of the point as an NHL so far. Suzuki become a complete player for the Montreal Canadiens, is become a great 200 feet for the Montreal Canadiens. And if you think about Hutson, and I will give you guys your point after that, Hutson, guys, have 62 points right there. It's amazing if you think about that. He has also passed 2 points behind Chris Chelios for the most points for the rookie with the Montreal Canadiens. Is right now 3 assists to reach Larry Murphy with the most assists with 60. And now you get Lane Hutson, the player of the Rookie of the Month for the second time. He is the only one did it with Nicholas Lindstrom. And then you have also tied the franchise record, like I said, with the number of assists for Chris Chelios. Now he beat Chris Chelios with 57, and that's happening for Lane Hutson. The way to see the game, the way they analyze the game is really different with any other player for the Montreal Canadiens. So do you consider them elite player, Mr. Nata?
I don't see how you can't, either one of them. I think that they're definitely showing that. In Suzuki's case, I mean, if there's still anybody doubting is this guy a number 1 center in the league, I think that they have been missing a lot of the games that he's been playing because he's clutch. He comes up big in key times, and he puts the weight of the team on his shoulders. And I think a lot of it goes hand in hand with Hutson, and for Hutson to come in at this stage and do what he's doing speaks volumes, because it's the hardest position to really become acclimatized to, and is playing defense. And he's like I said earlier, every night we're hearing he's either getting closer to this record or has broken that record. And in my eyes right now, I mean, you could put an exclamation mark on it that he's your Calder Trophy winner. I think they're both in that category of high hockey IQ, and they are elite players for Montreal.
Good point about that for sure. Devin, how you feel about that? How do you see them? The Panthers score goal 3-2 against Toronto Maple Leaf. The Hurricane beat the Capitals 5-1. When I talk about elite, it's another level, right? And it was questionable for the last couple of years. I don't know if he was yourself. You think Suzuki was, and then and that fans say he's not a center number one, everything like that. I love his maturity, his development, and he's not at his peak of his career yet. So give us what you feel about a player like them.
Yeah, I mean, I echo a lot of what Intertap said. Like, Suzuki, the conversation that people have been having for a long time, oh, is he a number one center? Is he, I think, it's pretty clear right now that he is. And, not only is he, contributing offensively, he's one of the better defensive forwards in the league. He's, proven to be a really, really good leader. He, has the clutch gene. His ability to score big goals at big times, his ability to do the right thing in big times, all these things, right? I mean, I think Suzuki, it's clear. And again, I think you made a really great point as well, Enertep, is these guys continue to get better, right? Just when you think that they've reached some sort of a peak, they all of a sudden take it to another level, right? They go to the next step. And, so last year, he was pretty close to a point per game. And then this year, we're probably going to see him surpass a point per game. All of that stuff. And, we often, look at Suzuki as a bit of a veteran on this team because of how young everybody else is. But, he's still, hasn't reached his peak either. Like he's not, was 26 years old. He's still on the way up. And, him getting 85 or 86, 87 points this year, I don't think there's any reason why he can't even improve on that, after that in years to come, not just because of him developing further, but also because of, the development of the players around him as well, right? Caulfield's going to continue to get better. Slavkovsky's going to continue to get better. And, other guys who play around him will continue to get better. As far as Hutson's concerned, I mean, I've it's weird because every time I want to talk about Hutson, I feel like I'm carrying on like a raging, Canadiens fan, and that, I'm sort of hesitant to say the things that I really want to say about this guy because I feel like people are going to, dismiss me as just, another Canadian,
A homer.
and yeah, and it's weird because, realistically, I honestly, and I'm being completely honest about this. I feel like he has the potential to be a legendary player, and I know that's a huge word, but I mean the names that he's brought, the names that he's being discussed with right now, the air that he's breathing right now, Lidstrom, Chelios, Housley, Leach, and I get that that's just one season and there's guys who fall off after being rookies, but this is a guy again who every time you think that he's not going to, to make it, or he's not going, he's excelled and exceeded expectations at every level he's ever played hockey, right? They didn't know whether he'd be able to make the jump from, from junior hockey to the national team development program. Then they didn't know if he'd be able to play at Boston College, or Boston University, whether that was going to be too much for him. And then, they didn't know whether, he was going to be too small to play in the NHL. And then they were like, oh, well, he can play offense in the NHL, but he's going to be a power play specialist and he's not really big enough and, to play defensively. And now we're seeing elite things from him on both sides of the puck. Like we're seeing him, use his brain, as coach says, right? He's using his brain to become an elite hockey player, right? He's not, he recognizes his shortcomings and he uses his brain, both on the offensive and the defensive side of the puck to be a better player. And he's always, always, always looking for ways to be better. Like he's always looking for ways to be better, which is why I think he can become legendary, because I think he's a guy who he's not even near reached his potential. And he's always trying to get better. Like you hear him interviewed today and they asked him, what could you work on? And he said, I think I should be able to score. Right. They asked him directly. So what are you, he's the only guy on the ice the other day, right? Optional skate. Nobody's at the rink. Nobody. He's there. Today, optional skate. He's on the ice an hour before anybody else. He's always working on something. And so they asked him today, what is it that you're working on? What do you think? And he says, I want to be able to score. And then he says, it's not just that I want to be able to score. If I can score, then it puts something else in the mind of the defenders who are playing against me, right? And it gives me an advantage because it's making them think about something more, and then it gives me another option. And it's just, the kid's brain is just immense. And I know I asked you guys today in our group chat which player you would most like to interview if you could interview any member, and you guys said your answers. I'll let you what. For me, it's Lane Hutson, for that reason alone, because I'm fascinated by the way this kid thinks about hockey. The Four Nations face-off, everybody else went to the Bahamas or to Florida or to Hawaii or whatever. He went to Boston University to watch his brother play, and then came back to Montreal and was on the ice 3 or 4 times, right? That's what this kid is.
He never missed any practice, optional practice all year long.
Nothing. And he's never, and he's the only guy on the ice. And he's just, it's his brain, it's his work ethic. He loves hockey, and he's just like one of those guys. And I just don't see the limit for this kid. And I mean, obviously there is one. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's no limit, but I don't see that he's anywhere close to it yet. And, the numbers he's putting up this year are obviously spectacular, but, there's just so much more there. And I honestly, I'm so excited to watch this for the next decade or 15 years or whatever it is. I'm just so excited to watch what this kid turns into. And I think he's a guy who someday has his number in the rafters. Honestly, I truly, truly, truly believe that.
A great comment about that. We want to welcome back Larry Lavallee. Welcome in the house, Larry. Hopefully you're doing well, Mr. Larry, you and your family. And glad to see you around for sure about that. Great comments. I have a great conversation between Fondel and Eglom with TH and Nicholas. So thanks both of you to join the conversation talking about this. I appreciate a lot your comments about that. Look, you guys, you nailed it. I feel like for me, it's about maturity, in my opinion, to become an elite player at some point. In maturity, it could be not only about age versus your behavior, but if you look about Nick Suzuki, his maturity starts with his play and the playoff a couple years ago, how he was so good and he was lead his team. I think it was not that time. It was Hamilton Bulldog, right? It was Hamilton, right?
Yeah.
Right, because they churned out the Bradford. So, he go all the way to Memorial Cup, have a great year, and it was a year also with Kaden Coley. Think about Kaden Coley, the maturity at a young age for him. Lane Hutson, for me, his maturity is coming for the fact he's beat the odds. Like, this kid is not worried about what the people think, but he's always beat the odds. To prove how confident he is, Devin, like you're absolutely right, is he show up at the NHL draft with a Dr. Pepper to show what size he could be. I'm not sure, Devin, enough top, how many player in NHL draft at 18 years old will show up with that kind of paper. That show for me a lot about Lane Hutson. Then the passion of Lane Hutson remind me Martin Saint-Louis. Same way. Martin Saint-Louis, small players, beat the odds. Martin Saint-Louis, what happening with the Tampa Bay Lightning, he got a chance, he get it. And the passion of Martin Saint-Louis is over the chart. Like, you can talk with Martin Saint-Louis all year long about hockey, he will never leave the building. He will stay with you. Look about his press conference. And Martin St-Louis is a teacher. Look what he did when the Tortorella and Columbus with Tampa Bay Lightning. Why he want to learn the game, like the relationship with, is it Grillo? I think it's Grillo.
Grillo.
Grillo, he was said to us during the, I went to the my level 5 as a coach at the USA. Grillo was one of the speaker, and one question was about which NHL player you feel is going to be a good coach in NHL, and he was Saint Martin St. Louis. And people said, why? He said Martin St. Louis would call him 2-3 times per day to learn more about different things, about practice, everything like that. And Martin St. Louis at that time, guys, was just like, it's not about 2, 3 years ago. No. I'm talking about 7, 8 years ago. No. After he got retired, Martin St. Louis already started coaching his kid, everything like that. So they are elite players because they are framing and they're thinking and their brain think differently and they want to improve, they want to become better, and they analyze the game like not other players. That's the next level. I'm not talking about generational players. I'm talking about elite players. I think they are for me both. And Lennartson is just at the beginning. Is right now is writing the book of the record and for the Montreal Canadiens, and that would be very interesting what he could become one day. But Montreal Canadiens are right now in the good hands, like you said, State Farm is not that on
They're
that one. So if you want to add
they're
something to finish the subject, Devin, then and after.
just about Hutson. I mean, again, him and St. Louis, they're not constrained by tradition, right? They're not constrained by this is the way that it's always been done. Like, they're more than willing to go outside that box if they think that it will help their game or their team or otherwise. Like, all of these skills that Lane Hutson uses, these are not skills that any coach would have ever taught him, right? Like how to defend a guy who's 8 inches taller than you and weighs 60 pounds more than you. Like, these are things that he's figured out on his own, right? He's doing things that coaches wouldn't have taught him. He's the idea that when a offensive player is coming on to him, he doesn't back off. He gets closer. He closes the space, right? Any coach will tell you that you want to create a bit of a gap and you want to control that gap, but you also want, he wants to get in your skates. He wants to get in, like, and these are things that nobody would have ever taught him. Maybe his dad, like, his dad was a hockey guy too, and maybe these are things that he's worked on with his dad or his brothers or whatever. But like, they're not constrained by traditional ways. They're not limited to doing things the way it's always been done. Like, they're more than willing to go beyond that, and that's what it's Marty St. Louis the same way, right? Like Coach says, you listen to his press conferences. When is the last time you heard a coach talk like that in a press conference? Like, coaches don't talk that way. Like, when is the last time you heard John Tortorella or Joel Quenneville or one of these guys talk about the players love each other? You know what I mean? Like, it's such a breath of fresh air, and you're bang on, Coach, that Hutson and Marty St. Louis are kindred spirits in a lot of ways. And, the two of them together are going to do some pretty special things, I think.
Good point about that. And after, if you want to add something before we move on.
I'll just end it off by saying they're visionaries, right? And you can throw Marty St. Louis in that category. I think that they just think the game differently. A lot of it has to do with the obstacles that they've had along the way, as you were alluding to earlier, Devin. And to overcome that makes you that much more confident in your game, and brings you to places where you can perform under different types of pressure. So, um, when I look at Hudson, I know it's early, and I hear exactly what you're saying as well, Devin. Sometimes you have to sort of kind of taper off what you really want to say about some of these players for the fear of being accused of being a homer. But like this guy, all the defensemen that we're talking about in terms of the records that he's breaking, they're all hockey Hall of Famers, all of them. And I I see if he continues in this projection, he's definitely going to be in that line. Now, this is way too early to say, right? But it's just it's the character of the individuals. That's what's when it comes to the draft coach, and they spend a lot of time. Like you can look at the analytics and say this is a good hockey player, this is not a good hockey player, but it's you want to find out. You want to really drill in and find out about their character. What are they made of? Do they have leadership qualities? Are these guys that love being around the rink all the time, even on their off days? Do they care about other players that are on the team, or are they just after their next best contract? And in this case, they did their homework, right? And when did we select Hudson? Second round. So if ever we hear, oh, you know what, did we make a mistake selecting Slavkovsky at first? Well, juxtaposition the two players, and you'll feel much better about the draft.
Good point about that, both of you. I appreciate that your comments about this. With the time, guys, I have other table. Maybe if a little bit more time after that, I want to go to the clash if you don't mind. I think it'll be good to talk about what we have for you today. A little bit fun for me, guys. The clash night, but some of you, don't worry, Mr. Devin. Like I said, we removed the case number 2 for tonight, but Alban, it's about Montreal Canadiens, and I will start with enough tap on that one. Kapanen and the roster tomorrow night against the Boston Bruins.
I don't think it'll be tomorrow night, to be honest with you. I definitely think he will be. I'm just thinking about the travel and the fact that maybe he just wants to sort of get him back into the swing of things with his ex fellow colleagues, players. So I don't think it's tomorrow. So I'll say not at all. But he's definitely going to be in the roster. Probably the game after.
Good point, Mr. Chicago score, by the way. And Mr. Devin, I apologize.
Yeah, I haven't really followed the news, and I don't know what the news is. I mean, I think Entertap, you're right. I don't think he's in the lineup tomorrow. He hasn't practiced yet, so I don't imagine that he's going to get on their lineup tomorrow. Is it their intention to have him stay with Montreal, or do they want him to be in Laval? Is it
Montreal?
Montreal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me. I mean, I think that he would probably benefit from being in Laval. But anyways, if
he's eligible, Devin, to be in Laval after the season.
Oh.
Sean Farrell scored a goal to tie the game. By the way, 18 goal for Farrell. Farrell, guys, it's phenomenal. Is what's going on with him the second half of the season. He have now 39 points, I believe. It's just crazy about that. So I apologize to cut you, Devin, but that's happening.
I forgot the captain because he played with the team earlier in the season. I think he's eligible to go to the American League after the Canadiens season is done, whereas that wouldn't be the case with some other players. So, then that's I think he does get in the lineup. I don't know that it's tomorrow, so I'll say not at all. And just as a quick note on Farrell, I think he's played himself back in the conversation as potentially being a guy who has a role on the Montreal Canadiens, in the future, right? I mean, going into camp next year, if he can be this same guy, I mean, he's back in the conversation, I think.
It's going to be hard for me, but you never know how the confidence makes its friends, right? And if you have an opportunity at the camp, that would be someone maybe like Heinemann. Nobody was talking too much about Heinemann. It was more about Owen Beck and Kapanen. And finally, Heinemann still with the Montreal Canadiens. We'll see with Farrell. The only thing is, again, his size could be a problem versus what the Montreal already have.
The thing with Farrell, too, is, coming out of college, his pedigree was, he was expected to be, and he just hasn't done it. And what he's done in the second half of this season. I mean, like you said, he's got 39 points, but his pace in the second half is more like, a 60-point pace, right? And
Yes, right now,
67
straight on 7-8 games, Devin, you have 2 points in the first 22 games. So you're absolutely right for what you just said.
Yeah.
He's crazy. Yeah, it's like I said. I mean, if he shows up to camp and is that guy, would he? Again, I'm not saying this, but if he's a guy who can give you 50 or 60 points,
yeah,
he could be
absolutely about that. We're going to move on for the next one, Devin. Kaden Cooley and Lane Hutson could become potentially a top 3 best defensemen in NHL.
They could be a top 3 pairing in the NHL?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Why? I mean, again, getting back to Hutson, I mean, I know we've talked a ton about him already. Hutson makes
Davidson score. It's 2-1. It's 22nd goal of the year for Davidson. They scored 2 goals and 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Lead 2-1 again. The Manitoba Moose.
There's another amazing story, Davidson.
Yeah, Jared Davidson.
Yeah.
Wild. I mean, so Gooley, Hutson. I mean, they're both incredible defensemen, but we've seen Hutson turn mediocre defensemen into very good defensemen, right? What's he going to do with Kaden Gooley? Obviously, Hutson has shown an ability to play on his off wing, and so it allows Gooley to play on the left side. But again, like Hutson and Struble for the last 3 weeks to a month have been an incredible defensive pairing. And I don't think any of us is going to argue that Struble has nearly the raw talent that Gooley does. And so
what's the common denominator, Devin?
Exactly. It's, Hutson makes whoever plays with him better, and Gooley is already really good to begin with.
So right? The key behind that is really the complementary who can fit better with Hutson to make that. And Cooley is really the one who could get that potentially that pairing to be a top 3 in NHL because you have shutdown, you have the physicality, and you have the leader on the side.
And maybe that name's not even.
Sorry,
go ahead. I was just going to say maybe that name's not even on the board yet, right?
Yeah.
Or Reinbacher.
But I mean, Hutson makes everybody around him better, and Gooley has already shown what he's capable of. Playing with Savard and playing with other guys, so I think playing with Hudson's only going to make him that much better, especially once they get the opportunity to play a few games together. I think again, like I've already committed to Hutson being an elite player and legendary status or whatever you want to call it. I think Gooley, obviously Gooley doesn't have the same ceiling that Hutson does, but he's also a very good young defenseman, and the two of them together, I think, can be pretty special.
Yeah, great point, Mr. Notap. What do you feel about that?
I agree. Absolutely.
Okay.
We can go on to the next one.
Next one, Mr. Notap. Suzuki with Team Canada Olympic 2026.
He's definitely going to give them something to think about, right? We're just seeing almost a beautiful progression in Suzuki year after year. And I'm not just talking about his point production, which is obviously important, but I think it's in his maturity, his leadership, and his ability to get clutch goals at key times. So I definitely think he'll be there. So I'll go with absolutely.
I'll also go with absolutely. I think that so there's 2 questions there, I guess. One, should he be on the team? And 2, will he be on the team? 1, I think he absolutely should be. 2, will he be? I think the only question there, I mean, we see a lot of politics sometimes when it comes to the selection of this team, guys, the coaches and the GMs picking players from their own team and whatever. But realistically, I think that if Suzuki stays on the path he's on right now, between now and when the selections need to be made, I think he's going to give them no choice, right? And, I think that's, if he doesn't make the team, it'll only be because the coaches decide to take somebody that they're more familiar with or somebody from their own team. But again, if he finishes the year with 85, 86, 87 points and continues to, be the kind of player he has been, they'll have no choice but to take him.
One
So
specific
I'll say
player you thinking about that, Devin, when you said that if you don't make it, which player you think he will be in competition or the team will select over him?
well, I mean, I'm drawing a blank on it. Is it Armstrong, the GM of the Blues?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's the GM, right? So I mean, you look at guys like Robert Thomas or Jordan Kyrou, who I don't think are on the level all around. I mean, Robert Thomas is probably, on a level with Suzuki from an offensive production point of view, but all around hockey player, I think Suzuki is better. I think Kyrou is a good hockey player as well, but I don't think he's on that level. And, could I see them, could I see Armstrong take a guy like Robert Thomas over a Suzuki? Maybe. But again, if Suzuki continues to do what he's been doing lately, and that becomes, the norm for him, and that's what he, does for the rest of this year, and then sort of through the first half of next year, I don't think that they'll have a choice but to take him even over those guys.
Great comments about that. I agree with you, Devin, all the way. I think I will be the same thing. Robert Thomas will be the one. Engstrom, by the way, is when Devin asked a GM for the Blues, but for Team Canada for the Olympics, Armstrong sat down, or
Oh,
he become the president of the Blues next season, and the ex player Alexander Steen become the GM of the St. Louis Blues next season. Same situation with the Washington Capitals. McLennan is removed of his GM. Mais ça, on tape. Non, Devin. Lane Hudson with the Team USA.
I mean, it's the same argument, right? Like, should he be there and will he be there? Should he be there? Absolutely. Again, I think the politics could get in the way. Bill Guerin, does he pick Lane Hudson? Is there an experience slash youth argument against Lane Hudson where, you know, I think Bill Guerin's a pretty old school guy. Is he going to be interested in having a 21-year-old on the team, or is he going to prefer to go with veterans or whatever? Is he going to again? I don't know how you argue against the guy who's got 65, 70 points in the NHL. So I think that there's absolutely no legitimate reason not to have him on the team. And if he doesn't make the team, I think it will be purely where they even like you look at so look Brock Faber, right? Brock Faber plays for Minnesota. He would be Bill Guerin's guy, I would expect. I don't see any aspect of the game where Brock Faber is preferable to me over Lane Hudson. I don't. And but will Bill Guerin see that? I don't know. I really don't know. Like there's a familiarity with your own players. You see them every night, whereas you might see Lane Hudson once or twice or three times a year at the most. But again, if Lane Hudson finishes this year with, let's say, 70 points, and then through the first half of next year, is on that same type of pace, will he give them a choice? I don't know. Right? Again, politics sometimes gets in the way in some of these decisions. But again, if you're asking me, is Lane Hudson one of the 5 or 6 best available defensemen to the United States team? He 100% is right now, and subject to some major catastrophe, will be next year as well.
Good comments about that, Mr. Nartap.
Devin, you brought up the whole issue about the politics. I think that's what's key here. I don't think anybody would disagree with us if we said absolutely Lane Hudson will be on the Team USA roster. But it's all going to come down with familiarity with whomever is running the team at the time, the coaches, number one. And number two, it's how they want to build the team, right? And if this year's Four Nations gave us any indication, it looks like they want to have a very rugged, big kind of defense on board. And if that's the case, then I would have to say not at all because of that thing, not because of merit, but because of what they want to try to build, and in terms of trying to stop, let's say, not just Canada's forwards, but if Russia's in there, the Russian forwards, and many other teams as well. So I'm going to go with not at all, just because there's too much politics, but he's definitely merits a position.
I'll be surprised, you guys. I think Leonardson will make it. The only reason behind that, for all what you said, I think Leonardson on the bigger ice will be more benefit for the Team USA, and he brings something different also with Team USA. I know they have Luke Hughes, everybody else, but I think for we he dominate this year, and if he have a really good start of the year, I think Hudson is going to make it. I'm not necessarily a top four, but part of the team. That will be my prediction on that one. So now top next one. Apologize. Montreal Canadiens, when they're going to be at the Stanley Cup contender. I hope they will be there one day. Who is going to be the biggest impact for the team? It's going to be Leonardson or Nixky. Now, some we said maybe Fowler and Demidov, but they not play any game yet in NHL, so it will be not fair enough to put them. But for what you see, Mr. Nata, if one of Montreal will be a Stanley Cup contender, a top 8 best team in NHL, which one of them will be the biggest impact for the Montreal Canadiens?
I think for Montreal, it'll have to be Hutson. And again, no disrespect to Suzuki, because I think as we've mentioned ad nauseum tonight, he brings so much to the team. But I think he'll have more complementary pieces to work with. Hutson will be required to be the quarterback on, let's say, the power play. He'll be required to, like, he's really trying to improve, and he has his defensive aspect of the game. So he's becoming much more well-rounded, and just look at the amount of time that he garners, like over other defenders. But even if you're comparing these two, obviously Hudson's on the ice a lot longer, so he becomes, just by default, a more critical piece to the whole picture. So I'll go with Hutson.
Devins.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in order for the Canadiens to be a Stanley Cup contender, both of those guys need to be big impact players. I don't think you win a Stanley Cup with just one impact player. I think other guys will also have to be impact players. But if you're asking me who's going to be the most impactful player, I think it's going to be Hutson. And it's not a slight to Nick Suzuki by any means. Again, it's what we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes. Is, Hutson. I just think that his ceiling is through the roof. I think he's a guy who could score, 70, 80, 90, 100 points as a defenseman someday. And, 90 to 100 point defensemen don't come along every day. And there's no way for that person not to be, a very impactful guy. I think Suzuki can be impactful in other ways, as far as his leadership and, being the first line center and all of that other stuff. But at the end of the day, I think Hutson just continues to grow and get better and better and better. And if he does, then, I don't think anybody, I think that Hutson someday could be the most impactful player in the league. Quite honestly, I know, again, I'm running the risk of coming off as a homer, but I'm willing to take that risk, because I think that, it's early to say that, but, based on the current trajectory, I think the potential is certainly there for that.
Awesome. We have 2 more to go. The next is coming for the chat group. Today we have a different conversation between all the 4. We have a special group. We have a group message, guys. Me, Devin, and Artap, and Marco. We are always not on the same page. Nothing against any one of us. We're just thinking friendly. And sometimes it get hot, but it's okay. This is a part of what we have all in common with the people in the chat. We are passionate about hockey. We love talking about hockey, but we still doing it with respect. This is the most important thing behind that. And today we talk about specific players, and I want to hear from both of you on that. I'm going to give you my answer about that. Do you think Xhekaj will be traded at some point for a second center in NHL. So I would change the conversation. I would change my question. If you have a possibility to get a second center, whatever it is, would you trade Albert Xhekaj to get that players in after?
It depends who your second center is, right? I think that has
But
to be
usually
sort of
in
revealed.
at that
Like
level, at 26 years
a two
old,
C,
you know what I mean? Like a good player. We're not talking about a Kadri or a Trocheck, a player like 30 years old older. But you talk about a future good prospect, not a good prospect, a player established and he prove it as a second center.
I mean, if the exchange is obviously at that level, then it's something you might consider. But I mean, I have a hard time moving past the fact that anybody wants to trade Xhekaj. I think he's an integral part of the team. Like I know right now um, we're seeing him being seated, but that's part of his development, right? He's had to fight hard to get to where he's been at. He's an undrafted player that really established himself, and I think his true value comes in the playoffs as well. He's the kind of defender that you need in order to be successful in the playoffs. Big, rugged, can move the puck out of the in front of the goalie, and more importantly,
Super
And
chat.
after that, we have super chat and Mark Elliott did it again. Thank you. Mark Elliott scored a goal tonight on that
Hi,
one.
hi.
Appreciate that, Mark. We're never going to trade Mark Elliott by the way, Mr.
Never. So I mean, just to end it off, I mean, he's a unicorn in his own way, and I think he serves an integral part on the team. He creates space. He gives the players around him a lot more confidence out there that they can do what they need to do without sort of being taken advantage of. And I'm not talking about fighting. I'm just talking about the presence of him there, and I think that's critical. But when you put it together with the fact that, hey, if you get just to throw a name out there, a McTavish in the exchange, then it's something you have to consider, right?
Yeah,
And
you have
only
to sit
because
thinking about that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
point behind that.
I mean, as much as I love Jack, I mean, I'm not going to be ignorant to the fact that having a 2C like that, like McTavish, is going to improve your team down the road more. Only because if you look at our defensive core and you look at who's still is coming up through the system, it's a hole that you can still fill with guys like either Engstrom or Reinbacher or maybe somebody that they even draft this year. So if you
Mayu.
can get a McTavish, Mayu, I forgot about that as well. So yeah, I think you have to consider it
And the
if
fact
that's the
behind
case.
that, to Jekai, for everybody in the chat, right? Why you target Jekai? Because I believe is he has a high value and return too. It's not like it's just disrespect Jekai. We talk about a high value. Now it's going to be a 1 versus 1, but a Jekai involved in the trade with an asset is a very good, important key player. Could bring a second center. So first, Devin, you're going to answer that question, and then I'm going to bring you something else and finishing the clash after that. So let's hear Mr. Devin.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Entertap said. I think the organization views Arbor Jacki, uh, their view of him. They consider him very highly. And so again, the original question, will they trade him? I think is highly unlikely. I think they have a really high opinion of him, not just because of what he currently brings, but what they think he can possibly be. One of the great things that I like about Jacki, and I think is one of his great strengths, is how far he's come in such a short period of time. Right, there's a guy who wasn't even drafted in junior hockey, was basically on his way out the door in junior hockey to go play junior C, and stuck around, managed to turn something. So he's a guy who I think who has a really high trajectory and a big runway in front of him as well. I mean, obviously, I don't think I don't think he's one of the players who's absolutely off the board for Montreal. If the right deal came around for the right guy, I don't think he's an absolute non-starter. But again, I would be very hesitant to trade him. I think he has a lot to contribute. It's interesting because we often look at players and we judge them based on where they play on the roster, and we often look at guys who are third pairing defensemen are automatically viewed as being less valuable than second or first pairing defensemen. And I think to a certain extent that's true. But when you have a true blue third pairing defenseman who fits the role so perfectly, that's a great thing as well, right? When you have just because he only is going to play 12 or 13 minutes a game, but the fact that he fits so it's like Jake Evans, right? Jake Evans fits so perfectly in the fourth line that he is it's a role that you've got him signed. You don't have to worry about him. You don't have to worry about that role. So again, do I think he's untouchable? No, but I think that it's very unlikely that he gets traded, even if it means bringing in that long sought after second line center. Obviously, with other assets, he's not going to get traded one for one for an everyday second line center. But I don't see him being at the top of the list of players that the Canadiens are they're certainly not going to shop him around, and I think they would be very, very hesitant. And I think they would value him very, very highly, and certainly probably higher than maybe other teams would as well. So I don't see him going anywhere.
Good point, both of you. A lot of people in the chat also. Thanks for all. Now I'm going to change the scenario and maybe open up more your eyes, and that will change or not that one with that. First of all, Xhekaj is young. Xhekaj have to improve. Xhekaj I still have 2-3 years before we see exactly what he will be in NHL. Comments like Mark, comments like Dennis in the chat said he's a monster. Mark said we need to get protection, everything like that. I all understand that, and I'm not disagree with you. And on top, he said also his physicality or his is the element to have him and the roster sit on the bench make the team to get a little bit more if something happening, everything like that. All
Figure.
I disagree with all of you about that. Now, in 2 years, I bring you now in 2 years. Florent Xhekaj become an element important as a forward center. Do you really need now Albert Xhekaj and the team or not after that? Will you change your mind now and not to trade right now him as a second center and bring you in 2 years or maybe 3 years? And you realize now Florent Xhekaj, a center 6'4", 200 pounds, can play good on the PK, is solid, he can get there if something happened there. Is already an upgrade. Cannot compare with Michael Pessoa. It's already an upgrade for all the bottom six Montreal with Florent Xhekaj. And I'm telling you right now, he's going to be that player for the Montreal in the next 2 years. No doubt in my mind. This kid is going to be there. But that will give him, Florent Xhekaj, to kick his brother out of the Montreal in 2-3 years. Are you willing to go that direction? Or you said, no, we need to keep anyway Xhekaj as a defenseman. One, you have maybe a better defenseman in the next 2-3 years over Xhekaj. So it's a lot thing about that, but I just want to open your eyes, guys, how you feel about my comments. Xhekaj, Florent, the lineup now, that will open up more the possibility to trade Albert Xhekaj.
I mean, there's a lot of things there. I think the first thing I will say is that, for either of those two guys, Arbor or Florian, to be in the roster, they're going to need to bring a lot more than just the physical presence and sort of that enforcer role. I agree with you that Xhekaj is both Xhekajs and Florian in particular. I'm pretty confident that he's going to have a role on this team down the road as well. But it's not going to be just because he's 6'4" and 200 and some pounds. It's going to be because he can put the puck in the net, he can play well defensively, and he fits the role that they have for him. And the reason why I think he's that good is because, like his brother, he's on a very, very high trajectory, right? He's a guy who's improved significantly over a short period of time. So again, the suggestion, I think what you're getting at, Coach, is if Florian Xhekaj comes in and he's able to play that intimidation role, that enforcer role, why do you need Arbor? I think that the reality is that Arbor Xhekaj, for me, is more than just that, right? He obviously plays that role, but he plays that role but can also play hockey. And I think that Florian Xhekaj can play that role, but he can also play hockey too. And so I don't think there's any reason why you can't have both of those guys in the lineup, right? It's like, if you don't want two Ryan Reeves in your lineup, right? Obviously that's a waste of time. But if you've got, Tom Wilson and I'm trying to think of another guy who is a tougher guy in the league, Olivier, Mathieu Olivier. Yeah. You've got Mathieu Olivier, and you've got Tom Wilson on your team. And Olivier playing the way he's been playing this year, obviously. If you've got both of those guys, there's no reason why you can't have both of those guys in your lineup because they contribute in other ways. Obviously, they perform a role of enforcer and whatever. So again, for me, I don't think that either of the Xhekaj brothers make the team on the long term if all they're doing is playing that enforcer role. And obviously, Xhekaj, if he is in that role, Florian Xhekaj, sorry, if he's in that role, then he's bringing a lot more to the table. And Arbor Xhekaj, if he, is still around in 2 or 3 years from now, it's because he's, he's doing more than that. So, the answer to the question is no, I don't think it makes Arbor Xhekaj expendable just because Florian Xhekaj makes it to the league. I think Arbor Xhekaj either makes it or doesn't make it on the Canadiens on his own merits. And I think the same applies to Florian. And I don't see any reason why you can't have 2 6'4", 220-pound guys on your team if they're contributing in their individual roles beyond the physicality and the fighting and the enforcer aspect of the game.
You're not that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, if they're contributing in their own way, in their own respective roles, then why would you do that? Like one of the things that I think both Gordon and Hughes tried to do when they came here and the rebuild began was to build a culture, right? So the fact that you got two brothers on the same team, I know it shouldn't really matter because obviously you have to look at the, what's best for the team, but it does matter, right? Like you look at the Montreal and what they've done in the past. They've drafted guys like Koivu, his son, and with the intention that maybe he can be on the team, but drafted also. Both Florian and Arbor. Well, Arbor wasn't drafted, but they picked him up, obviously. So I think it helps to that culture, and if they're working together, they love to do that. Like one of the things I think, even look at the Tkachuk brothers. I think at some point, I would not be surprised if they don't end up on the same team, whether it's in Florida or elsewhere. I can see that happening, and teams look to do that, right? Burke, when he drafted the Sundins in Vancouver, like he moved heaven and earth to try to get that pick so that he can get both brothers together and have them on the team. Yes, they have to bring something to the table, but if you can get them and make them play there, be happy with somebody that they know they'll be happy with, why not? It contributes to developing that culture.
Good about of you. I'm just going to slip one thing about that. Until Martin St. Louis and Robidas be there, Xhekaj would be easy.
Go be what?
Never be better for the Montreal Canadiens. He's going to be he'll be the one who's going to be out at the lineup. He's going to be a 6-7 defenseman constantly with the Montreal Canadiens. And until they have a new coach, Xhekaj will be in that situation. I know said they will have to trade him. But I think that would be that consideration. But once Florent Xhekaj would be inside the team, I think that would open up more the Montreal to possible to trade Albert Xhekaj at some point. The left defenseman is better without Xhekaj, the position wise, on the skill wise, on the talent wise, all day long. Because you have Hudson, Madison, Coley, Engstrom, and I missed one, Strobel. So at
Struble.
some point, you have to look about the skill and the talent, and that's what you need to get. His exception about Mathieu Olivier, 16 goals, was as the defenseman, I would say to you, like you think about like physical, like Trouba and Kudas example, Xhekaj right now is not the same level until he develop, and I think he's stuck with Martin Saint Louis and Robidas. It is what it is, but Xhekaj play at the level, no bad penalty, play a better overall, is an element important at this moment. And 2, 3 years, the only the time will tell us how Xhekaj is going to develop Strobel, Angstrom, and the rest, and maybe a new left defenseman at the NHL draft. But I don't think it will be a long term to have both brothers for the Montreal Canadiens. I don't see that. The only time will tell us about that.
We shall see.
Here we go. We finished with the prediction. 3 games for the Montreal Canadiens for the rest of the week. Devin, you was not there. I'm going to give you a mulligan, Devin. Because you was not there, and you've been very good on the prediction. And I don't have my pen, so we'll read that. I will give you the 2 points for yesterday. I don't know, but you confident about how many points Montreal get this week, Mr. Devin, including the 2 points for the Florida Panthers. 3 games against Boston, Philadelphia, and Nashville.
So including yesterday's game? So out of 8.
Yes.
Didn't
I'll
we
say
do this
7.
last time? Didn't we do this already?
No, I'll give the chance for Devin, Mr. Nata. He was not there at the show.
Okay,
Gotcha.
so it's out of 8 points. We're including yesterday's 2 points.
Yes, we give you the 2 points for yesterday.
So I'll say 7.
So
I say they get 7 out of 8 points.
7 or 8. Mr. Nata. You're
Well, what
absolutely
did I
right,
have?
Devin. You're right about that, Mr. Devin. I feel the same way with you because I select 7, Devin. So before Florida, so I had a bit more, but 7 for me. I'm the
Difficult
only
route.
one, Devin, and you. We have confidence, and after that, I have no confidence about Montreal Canadiens. He says 5.
I didn't say 5.
He says 6.
6, yes. I'll stick to that. I'm not going to change now that I know what the outcome against Florida is.
Marco Larrabee said 5.
Yes, he did.
So,
Wow.
so for finish this, I will ask you this one, okay? We keep the point out for Devin every time that, but you have a trap game, or is it you have to be careful? What Montreal Canadiens have to do to go through this? Do you expect to be between the pipe at some point? So not only one game, but overall, give us your feeling for the rest of the week for the Montreal Canadiens. This is the last show of the week for the Montreal Canadiens until next week, Monday night. We're going to do the weekly report with Enartap and Devin next Monday. You already know what's going on there. So we want to talk first, sir.
I'll go quick. I think Boston is probably the trap game there. They're coming off a big high of beating Florida 2 in a row. Then they're, Boston that's now slid into the last place in the Eastern Conference. I think that's right.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, Philadelphia. I think they'll have a chip on their shoulder after the game last week. Honestly, I think that they probably deserve better in Philadelphia. If it wasn't for that ridiculous overturned goal or not overturned goal, I think they probably win that game, to be quite honest, because not only did it, result in a goal for Philadelphia, but it also resulted in another goal on the power play for the failed challenge. And it, by the rules, it clearly shouldn't have counted. So Nashville, I think they're probably mailing it in at this point. So yeah, I think the trap game for Montreal, I think, is the Boston game. Again, the biggest issue for Montreal right now is consistency and whether they go out every single night and put their best foot forward. And I think in the last 8 games of the season, whether they make the playoffs or not, that's what it's going to come down to, right? It's going to come down to whether or not they show up and bring their best every single game, because they can't afford to let down right now. They can't afford to have some of the games that they had last week and the week before that, right? The games where they should have won but didn't. And right now they've got a bit of a softer schedule coming home, but that doesn't mean that you're going to win those games. It still means that you got to go out and play, and you got to win them. And we'll see how they do.
And after that,
Well, if it wasn't for the fact that Boston seems to be content with the fact that they're dropping lower in these standings, probably that artificial or organic dump that they're trying to do to get a higher pick. I mean, Boston we haven't fared well with. I think we lost 6-3 and 6-4 twice to them so far this year. So that's going to be a tough game. It won't come easy. But I think they can do it. The other two, Philadelphia and Nashville, are back-to-back. So you got to expect Dobesh will draw one of those 2 games, more than likely the second game against Nashville. And really, Nashville, I know their games, even though they've been losing, they've been very tight. Philadelphia also they're in that honeymoon stage now that Torts is gone, and you wonder when is that going to rub off, and they return sort of to their regular spot. So none of them are going to come easy, guys. I'll tell you right now. I know all 3 teams are out of the playoffs, and they look like they're sliding down, but these guys come in to play prepared. Montreal will as well, but if there is a game that I'm kind of more worried, I'll go with the Nashville game on a back-to-back.
good point about that for Mr. Enartap. Last question, because we have to go. Enartap, do you call up Primo over Tobesh?
No, I
No?
don't. I you know what? I don't think that Dobesh has been horrible. As a matter of fact, if you want to attribute a lot of Montreal's turnaround in the season, a lot of it came when he came up here and he had that 6 or 7 game winning streak, and his very first game was 1-0, and I think it was over Florida, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, his game has come down to earth a little bit more, but I don't think he's like a liability out there when he's playing. I think he's still solid, and I would keep him. Now, if Montreal falls out of the race, that's a different story. You might want to throw him back down and help out Laval at that stage. But then again, Primo's been doing well there right now. So why disrupt a winning combination right now? And there's also Fowler that might be ending up going there. So it's going to make it really messy. So I just wouldn't disrupt anything. I'd leave Dobesh here.
Sound good. Devin, I'm going to share the
I
question for
agree.
you. Devin, I will go to share the question for you. I will say to you, the Rivers, do you send down Tobesh to take the spot of Primo and Laval? Ah, Mr. Nartab, that's a front question right there.
Well, I don't. Again, I think the answer is the same, though. I think Dobesh is. I don't see the reason why Primo would be any better than Dobesh in Montreal. And I mean, Primo has been arguably the best goalie in the American Hockey League for the last 2 months. So, the answer would be no for me. I don't see why you would mix it.
Mr. Nartab and Mr. Devin. Thank you. Mr. Guy or George scored the second goal of the game, assisted by Mr. Dan Asham, RDP. I got an assist, some apple on that one. A second goal of the game, and Mr. Guy, thanks so much. And of course, we talked about Mr. Mark Elliott a little bit earlier before that. Devin, I apologize during that one, finishing your point of view.
Yeah, no, I was pretty much done anyway. It's like I don't see any reason why you would mess with what's going on in Laval or mess with what's going on in Montreal. Again, like Intertap said, if the Canadiens either win the next 6 games in a row and develop a lead where they can afford to lose a game, maybe they give somebody an opportunity, but I don't see any reason. I mean, Primo has been very good in Laval, and I think that Dobesh has been adequate, I guess. Is that a word I can use in Montreal?
Good point about that. Look, I think we finished the show tonight. It was a great conversation. The chat, a lot of people talking. We got the 60 likes. Another great show on that one, of course. And we'll see on what Montreal Canadiens are going to do. Fun night, Mr. Nartab, to be with you tonight. To go through the Montreal Canadiens. Fun. Devin has a backup goalie pop up, Mr. Nartab, tonight. We like that. We like that. I know Devin consists to tell us what you're going to do after the game tomorrow night.
Habs After Dark, guys. We will be live on YouTube, Recliner Sports 4, 10 minutes after the game ends. So come on by and let's have a chat about the game.
You're absolutely about that. Look, we're going to look for the next couple of days, guys. First of all, Kapanen, if you're going to join the roster, if Xhekaj is going to be part of that, and of course, the Jacob Fuller. This is what we're going to look about that. We not talk about Demida. Demida scored a goal today for the SK, but they lost 5-4 on the second overtime. Demida scored another goal during the game and overtime, but Dizalou by the KHL and Rottenberg removed his goaltender. 8 minutes remaining at the game when they got a power play for 5 minutes. It was 3-2. They got score an empty net 4-2, and the SK come back 4-4.
I thought Rottenberg was suspended.
I'm sorry?
Was Rottenberg suspended? Did Rottenberg not get suspended? I thought you said he was suspended.
He was possible to be suspended. He was not. He was not by the KHL after he used profane words like Luc Fortune does all the time in the house and the Angel Garden. About that. What a great show, guys, to be both of you. And the only reason we grow, we getting close to 10,000 is because people like Devin and that bring some great what?
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
Exactly who they are, Mr. Natap, about that. And Mr. Natap, I'm going to close this way and that way and see what happening, Mr. Natap. Before you leave, we want to see you again one more time. I'm going to shut down my mic for Mike is open now. The Montreal Canadiens are going to play against the Boston Bruins. We wish you both of you a great night. I can't wait to see you tomorrow night at some point. And of course, next Monday night for the weekly report. Thanks both of you. You don't know how much we appreciate you and how much we are grateful and thankful to have both of you inside of the Montreal Canadiens podcast show tonight. An amazing great night, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Let's walk, folks.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thanks so much. The show is not over yet. I know the song is over, but we want to thank Xhekaj, the news update, moderator Run with Kings tonight, and of course, all of you click on the likes. We crossed the 60 likes, and before we leave the building, we want to thank also the super chat Guy. Mark Elliott again continues to contribute at the Hockey Nation show. Without this, would be impossible. And of course, it's fun to see the face like Nicholas come back. I know Nicholas is from other places, Sweden or Finland. It's not easy for him. But Dennis tonight, glad to see you, my friend Dennis Chenichav. Larry continue to be there every night. Alex, and so many of you, Nicolas knocked the door, Mac Elliott, and of course, many of you guys. You don't know how much we appreciate all of you. We don't tell you enough to how much we appreciate for what you bring to the channel. This is the reason we come back every night. And that's the reason many of you come back together because you love to sharing about the Montreal Canadiens. We'll see Montreal Canadiens again. The Boston Bruins will be live at 7:00 p.m. If if Montreal can win a huge game tomorrow, another 2 points, and to beat the Boston Bruins is that's another thing we like to do for the Montreal. Until then, my friend, be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what? Someone we said 2025. By the way, we want to thank Marco Larabie. We forgot Marco Larabie start the show with us tonight, and then the backup, Devin pick up the Marco spot. So we have a great people inside the chat and inside of the co-host of Montreal Canadiens. And again, keep pushing every night. Be a light. Make us friends, guys. Make an impact. An impact, you don't have to be a huge personality. You can make an impact to anyone around you. Your friends, your family, or someone you don't know. You never know how you can change the life of someone. So I feel like all of you could become a light inside of this beautiful, great life we have, all of us. You never know when you can leave this heart. And you have to be careful about that because you have to deliver love and serve others. Be care about other people. Until the next time, my friend, the Hockey Nation show, the Ab Nation want to tell you one more thing. We love you, friends. Thanks so much, everyone. I can't wait to see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. RJ Calabro, RDP, and of course, Nicolas de Gobani, the Gobani Bono. And one more thing for Luc Lafortune and Larry Lavallée. Booyah! Good night, everyone. And peace out.